Shanghai is truly a magical city. Many young people work hard here to chase their dreams, and every day, countless life stories full of ups and downs and magic happen. Lijiazui is the financial center of the world, where countless finance elites gather to hustle. Besides the wealth legends being created, this place is also full of the shiny yet helpless lives of people from other places coming to Shanghai to make a living. A red sports car suddenly braked hard in front of the financial center building. Li Fei, a young man in a sharp suit, stepped out of the car looking really cool. He walked and talked on the phone at the same time. His tone was very firm, demanding the person on the other end to set up a meeting with the investor he wanted to see at all costs. At the same time, down in the Shanghai subway system, it was packed with working people rushing to work. Qianfei, an office worker, was also among them. She hurried to transfer from the subway to the bus to make sure she wouldn't be late for work. Qianfei was not a workaholic. She always believed that family was more important than career, so she usually didn't push herself to work too hard. Her parents used up all their savings to help her pay the down payment for a house in Shanghai, giving her a place to live in the city where land is as expensive as gold. She was very grateful to her parents and also planned to work with her boyfriend, Wang Ruohai, to build their little home. Today was Wang Ruohai's birthday. Qianfei took advantage of her lunch break to run to the mall to buy a birthday gift first, then went to eat noodles with her best friend. Coincidentally, the investor that Li Yifei wanted to meet was also eating at this restaurant. Li Yifei ran over to meet him, but when he heard the other person say he could only put 20 million yuan into the project, he looked quite disappointed. Losing his cool, he accidentally made a loud noise that caused many diners in the restaurant to look back, including Qianfei. Today there was also a huge deal for Qianfei. Her house was about to be handed over. Because Wang Ruohai said he was busy, Qianfei had to go get the keys alone. The two of them had promised each other that as soon as they got the house, they would go register for marriage. So Qianfei's heart was full of excitement right now. As for Wang Ruohai, a bank worker, he was actually going to meet Liao Xiyu, the precious daughter of boss Liao, who owned a public company. Liao Xiyu had known Wang Ruohai since they were kids, and always kept him in her heart. Now seeing him grown up and looking so handsome, she fell even more in love. She tried her best to invite him to be the chief financial officer for her company, asked him out to eat, and even gave him an expensive watch. Manager Feng, Qianfei's boss, once advised her to focus her energy on her career and not to always give in and spoil her boyfriend, but Qianfei felt happy doing so. She still insisted that family was the #1 priority. Meanwhile, Li Yifei's fundraising hit a dead end, and the Angel Round project he was leading was about to go down the drain. Facing a huge investment shortfall, he was forced to sell his house to ease the pressure. When his girlfriend had her eyes on a newly released item, Li Yifei couldn't afford to buy it and had to sweet-talk her into being happy. But when she found out that he would have to rent a place for a while, his girlfriend's face fell, and she looked annoyed. While rushing down the street, Li Yifei accidentally bumped into Qianfei, knocking her phone to the ground. Not only did he fail to apologize, but he also hurried off right away, leaving Qianfei to just suck it up and accept her bad luck. Xing, Qianfei's best friend, happened to catch Wang Ruohai on a private date with Liao Xiyu at a restaurant with a very sketchy vibe. She was so mad that she wanted to rush out and confront them right away, but luckily her husband stopped her. That night, when Wang Ruohai got home, Qianfei had already fallen asleep on the couch, still fully dressed. She had stayed up waiting for him to come back to celebrate his birthday. Startled awake, she quickly sat up to get things ready, while Wang Ruohai secretly hid the watch and then casually announced that he was about to change jobs. Qianfei was eager to share the excitement of getting their new house, but Wang Ruohai brushed it off, saying the house was too small and that they might as well sell it for investment money to buy a bigger one later. Qianfei was completely stunned to hear him say that. She felt that this was their newlywed house that her parents had worked so hard to prepare for them, so how could they possibly sell it to invest? Wang Ruohai immediately used that as an excuse to break up. He made up excuses, saying that the two of them had different views and life goals and didn't share any common ground. Plus, he was a man, so how could he move into a house prepared by the bride's parents? Doing that was just like Qianfei putting pressure on him on purpose. Hearing this, Qianfei was extremely furious. They had obviously already talked about getting married, and they even finished taking their wedding photos, but now he was asking for a breakup. Wang Ruohai stood up and walked away. After her anger passed, Qianfei couldn't sit still because she was worried about him. She put her whole heart into making a really beautiful cake and took it outside, planning to go find Wang Ruohai to make up. Little did she know, Liao Xiyu was personally dropping Wang Ruohai off. She had spent time hanging out with him for his birthday, bought him a leather wallet as a gift, and even sweetly told him that she hoped she could celebrate his birthday with him every year. Right at that moment, Qianfei walked up and saw Wang Ruohai saying a lingering goodbye to Liao Xiyu. She suddenly realized that he had actually latched onto a rich girl, which was why he made up excuses to give her a hard time. Wang Ruohai didn't even bother to hide it. He bluntly said that this choice would save him from having to struggle for many years. The two of them got into a huge argument, and Qianfei completely broke down, crying out loud. When Xing found her, she was trying to act calm while sitting there eating the cake with a spoon. Feeling heartbroken for her, Xing gave her friend a tight hug. With no way to let out the heavy frustration in her heart, Qianfei sat on the side of the street, drinking by herself. She caught the eyes of some thugs, who planned to drag her away and assault her. Right at that moment, Li Yifei was driving by. Seeing this, he quickly got out of his car to stop them and chase them away. Seeing that Qianfei was blackout drunk and not knowing where her house was, he had to let her sleep alone in his car. Waking up the next morning, Qianfei checked and saw she was completely safe and sound, and after reading the note left by the car owner, she was convinced that she had gotten into a nice guy's car. Suddenly losing the person who helped share the house mortgage made Qianfei feel like a mountain of pressure was crushing her. She decided to rent out a bedroom to get money to help cover her mortgage. Gui Lele, Li Yifei's girlfriend, took it upon herself to look for a rental for him without discussing it first, and ended up finding Qianfei's exact house. She quickly signed the lease and paid the deposit right away. When Li Yifei came to see the house and recognized Qianfei, he looked visibly disgusted because he thought that every time he ran into her, he got bad luck. Qianfei also recognized him as the guy who knocked her phone down the other day, so she yelled at him to pay for it. Seeing that the two knew each other, Gui Lele couldn't help but feel suspicious. But since Qianfei had already taken the deposit to pay the bank, they had no choice but to stay there. Compared to their happy days before, Gui Lele now openly criticized Li Yifei, and she angrily slammed the door to lock herself in the room. Qianfei packed up Wang Ruohai's things and brought them back to him. She looked at him with a serious face and said she had clearly seen his true colors. In short, he was just a guy who was both insecure and selfish. Because the wedding banquet deposit was already paid, Qianfei decided to go to the hotel to ask for a refund, and she even had to beg them as much as she could, hoping they would give her the money back. In another turn of events, the financial investment company where Li Yifei worked was struggling because his boss got caught up in a financial scandal and was taken away for investigation. His project was therefore heavily affected, and his outside investment partnership negotiations were going really poorly. Qianfei went to get her wedding deposit back, but out of nowhere, she got her time of the month with terrible stomach cramps, and right at that moment, she ran into Li Yifei coming out from a business meeting. He hurried to hold her up, called a taxi to take her home, and was even thoughtful enough to buy her a warm heating patch. When the two got to the apartment lobby, they found out the elevator was broken, so Li Yifei had to help her walk up the stairs. When they got to the room, they were greeted by the sight of water flooded everywhere. It turned out that when Gui Lele left, she forgot to turn off the faucet. The two frantically cleaned up for a while, getting so tired they were out of breath. Gui Lele came home, saw the way the two looked, and was a bit surprised, asking what was going on. Li Yifei's blood was boiling with anger, and he chewed Gui Lele out, blaming her for having a goldfish brain at home before, forgetting things left and right. And now that she was renting, she still had the same bad habit, ruining the landlord's wooden floor and carpet. Gui Lele got mad because Li Yifei snapped at her in front of an outsider, not giving her any respect. So she angrily slammed the door and left. Li Yifei said that once he had money, he would pay Qianfei back for the damages. Waking up the next morning, Li Yifei saw Qianfei making breakfast that smelled amazing, but he was too shy to ask for a bite. Qianfei asked why Gui Lele didn't come hang out with him on Sunday, so Li Yifei had to make up an excuse that since Gui Lele was a model, her schedule was busy and unpredictable. Later, Qianfei went to the mall to return her wedding ring, but unexpectedly caught Gui Lele discussing men's fashion with an older man she called Boss Neo. The guy used a flirty, sketchy tone to tell Gui Lele that he had pulled some strings to get her to Milan Fashion Week. Hearing this, Gui Lele shyly linked arms with him, and they left laughing and smiling brightly. Seeing that scene, Qianfei couldn't help but feel sorry for Li Yifei. At the company, Huang Shusong, Li Yifei's boss, was arrested, so the Sanlifang group reached out to Li Yifei to ask him to act as the project guarantor. Today he had to go to the investment bank where Qianfei worked to talk about a partnership. At work, Qianfei's co-worker, Xian Yao, was always jealous of her work skills, so she got in her way at every turn, and even purposely tried to humiliate Qianfei in front of Li Yifei. Li Yifei was quick with his hands and eyes, shielding Qianfei from a spilled cup of coffee. Seeing manager Fong scold Qianfei, Xian Yao looked extremely smug. Lately, the company was getting ready for layoffs, and Qianfei never expected to be the one called out. After a talk with human resources, she had no choice but to carry a box of her personal belongings and leave, and Li Yifei took in this entire scene. Her friend Xing Xing worried about how Qianfei would figure out her house mortgage now that she was going through a breakup and unemployed. Qianfei said she had found a roommate, and along with her severance pay from the company, she could probably hold out for 2 or 3 months, so now she just needed to try her best to find a new job. Gui Lele went to see Qianfei, asking her to pass on a breakup message to Li Yifei, saying that the two of them had been sharing a bed but having different dreams for a long time. Qianfei totally understood that she was busy getting ready to go to Milan. That night, Qianfei's parents video called her to push her about getting married, and Qianfei just made up excuses to brush it off. Sitting out in the living room, Li Yifei heard it very clearly and advised her that it would be best to tell her family the truth soon. When Qianfei passed on Gui Lele's message, Li Yifei just gave a bitter smile after hearing it. Li Yifei's dad, Li Tiansheng, was anxious for his son to come back and inherit the company, so he didn't hesitate to step in and ruin his investment project, and even secretly recorded a video of the day he drove the red sports car to take Qianfei home. But Li Yifei didn't waver at all, firmly insisting on staying at the Zhizhong group like he was right now. After seeing that video, Gui Lele immediately sent it to Qianfei. Finding it weird, Qianfei immediately asked Li Yifei what was going on. Li Yifei didn't know how to explain it and asked her to delete it. Qianfei refused, so the two of them wrestled over the phone, and Qianfei accidentally fell right into Li Yifei's arms. Both of them jumped like they got shocked by electricity and quickly pushed each other away. The next morning, Gui Lele called to ask Qianfei to help bring her luggage down. Wanting to cover for her, Qianfei took the initiative to make breakfast for Li Yifei. Actually, Gui Lele felt guilty, which was why she asked Qianfei to help bring her stuff out. Li Yifei walked out and said straight up that if they were breaking up, they should just do it properly. There was no need to be so sneaky about it. Gui Lele really hated the fact that Li Yifei was dirt poor but still used a condescending tone to lecture her. She bluntly said that she was breaking up with him for money, so what was wrong with that? Li Yifei couldn't give her material value, nor did he bring any emotional value. So why on earth should she stay by his side? Li Yifei immediately pulled out a bank card and shoved it into her hand, saying that he actually wanted to break up a long time ago too. He just wanted to get her settled first before saying it. He told Gui Lele to remember carefully that it wasn't her wanting to leave, but him not wanting to give in and spoil her anymore. There were a few 100,000 yuan on this card, and he told her to spend it wisely just in case she got dumped by Boss Nyo and had nowhere to go. Gui Lele walked away crying, and Li Yifei also sadly went back to his bedroom. But as soon as he calmed down, he immediately threw himself into his work. He had to clearly investigate the real reason why the Sanlifang group needed a guarantor, because the data provided by Qianfei's old company was completely unreliable. Seeing Li Yifei lock himself in his room and refusing to come out, Qianfei thought he was in extreme pain from the breakup, so she was very worried. At noon, she took the time to go to the market to buy groceries and cook a meal for him. Unexpectedly, Li Yifei sent a WeChat message telling her to just leave the tray of food in front of his door. He ate it super fast in a flash, brought the empty bowls out, and didn't forget to comment that the stir-fry was a bit overcooked. Dejun is Li Yifei's childhood best friend. On the outside, he was a total mama's boy. Everything was arranged by his mom. Dejun's mom constantly pushed him to hurry up and find a girlfriend, telling him to look at Li Yifei, who had already dated several times. Taking advantage of the time Dejun wasn't home, she messed with his computer. Unfortunately, all the game gear that Dejun had grinded his butt off for half a year to get just vanished with one wrong click from his mom. And that expensive gear fell right into the hands of Dang Yu, a close friend who was coming over to see Qianfei. Feeling depressed, Dejun went to find Li Yifei to vent his feelings, and he also drank quite a bit of alcohol. At the same time, after Dang Yu ate and drank her fill at Qianfei's house, the two invited each other to go for a walk. In his drunken state, Dejun vaguely saw Dang Yu and recognized her as the female bartender at a bar he used to go to, so he stumbled over to say hi. Dang Yu was just minding her own business when she suddenly saw a drunk guy rushing toward her, so she grabbed him and threw him right over her shoulder. Dejun immediately grimaced and frowned in pain. Finally, after talking it out clearly, both sides realized it was just a misunderstanding. As for Qianfei, she went to job interviews, but the interviewers thought she didn't have enough experience, plus some sexist attitudes, so she kept getting rejected. Li Yifei saw the job search history on her computer and offered to pay her 100 yuan an hour to hire her to clean up. Qianfei thought about it for a bit and then agreed. First, Li Yifei transferred her the compensation money for the flooded floor incident. Qianfei figured there was no reason to play nice with a guy like this, so she tapped to accept the money right away. After all, with the pressure of her mortgage piling up, she had no time to hold a grudge against money. Wang Ruahai was working overtime day and night. Liao Shiyu reached out to invite him for a late-night snack, saying it was to thank him for pouring his heart into the company. As soon as Wang Ruahai stepped out of the office, he was totally blown away. It turned out Liao Shiyu had actually brought in a star-rated chef to cook and serve them right on the spot. Touched by this, he grabbed Liao Shiyu's hand. She opened up, saying this was the first time he had ever taken her hand, and she had been waiting for this day for a long time. Back to Li Yifei, seeing Qianfei stressing over her job hunt, he told her to just swallow her pride and learn a thing or two from him. But Qianfei replied that she already looked up to Fang Yun from her old company as her idol. Hearing that, Li Yifei just scoffed and rolled his eyes, claiming that Fang Yun was up to no good. If Qianfei didn't believe him, she could go look for her and see for herself if she truly valued talent. Even if Qianfei couldn't work in the back office, she could ask to be transferred to the frontline sales team. Qianfei thought that made sense, so she went to wait for Fang Yun at the company entrance bright and early. After working day and night without a wink of sleep, Li Yifei finally uncovered a bunch of hidden red flags in the Sanlifang Group's financial report. Meanwhile, Hexing Securities, the firm handling the project, just turned a blind eye and played dumb. Since they handled the back-end data analysis, there was no way they could have missed these loopholes. It was obvious they were setting a trap for the guarantor to take the fall, so they could just sit back and reap the rewards. Fang Yun from Hexing was truly a sly old fox, but knowing about a problem and not reporting it was a serious offense. If the Securities Commission found out, they would definitely come down hard on them. Li Yifei decided to dig deeper into the investigation. As for Qianfei, while she was waiting for Fang Yun at the company entrance, she bumped into Xian Yao and Boss Kong. It turned out that Boss Kong was Xian Yao's biological uncle. That was when it hit Qianfei why higher-ups had called her out by name to get fired. Xian Yao walked over looking all smug and hit the nail right on the head for Qianfei. Even though Qianfei was better at her job, she had been there all this time without bothering to learn about the office politics. So why on earth would Fang Yun stick her neck out for her? Feeling defeated, Qianfei turned around and headed home. Xian Ya was right. If she didn't bring any value to the table, why would Fang Yun help her out? By the time Qianfei got home, it was really late, and the house was pitch black. She was feeling around for the light switch when Li Yifei, wearing a sheet mask, suddenly popped his head out, scaring Qianfei so much that she screamed out loud. It turned out that Li Yifei hadn't bothered to give her a heads up and just went ahead and bought a heavy-duty oven and even had people come over to install a dishwasher. Hearing that, Qianfei just shook her head in disbelief. They only used 2 bowls for meals, which could be washed by hand in a flash, so there was no point in putting them in a buzzing dishwasher that would give you a headache for hours. Qianfei knew the breaker tripped due to a power overload, so she went to the electrical panel and flipped the switch up, and the whole room instantly lit up. Right at that moment, there was a knock on the door. Qianfei went to open the door and saw an electrician. It turned out that Li Yifei had called an emergency home service in the middle of the night, so he got ripped off for 200 yuan. Li Yifei just obediently scanned the code to pay. Qianfei shook her head looking at the guy who didn't have any basic life skills at all. Afraid that an issue would happen again in the future, she showed him the locations of the water and electricity valves in the house and how to use them. However, the guy looked annoyed, thinking that learning these things was a total waste of time, and his time was very expensive. Qianfei thought to herself that his mom should have taught him these basic life skills a long time ago. Li Yifei quietly replied that his mom passed away a long time ago. Hearing that, Qianfei stayed silent and understanding, because her mom had also passed away, and now she and her dad were living with her stepmom. Qianfei received a photo album and a letter sent by her dad, so she called home. When her dad asked about her wedding preparations, she didn't hide anything and frankly told him that the 2 of them had broken up. Her dad gently comforted her, saying that no matter what she decided, he would support her. That night, Qianfei fell asleep on the balcony, and Li Yifei came out to cover her with a light blanket. When he got back to his room, he kept tossing and turning, unable to sleep because he was also missing his mom. The next day, the noise Qianfei made outside woke Li Yifei up. He annoyedly got up to check, and saw that Qianfei had her makeup done and was dressed beautifully and youthfully, getting ready to go out. Li Yifei's eyes unconsciously lit up. Qianfei had taken the time to finish the financial data report for the Sanlifang group and gave it to Xing to look at. Xing praised her for doing a great job but still advised her to let someone in the industry take a look, like asking Li Yifei for example. At the same time, the female manager of Hexing Company was throwing a fit because the report data was not up to standard. She couldn't understand why the higher-ups would fire a solid employee like Qianfei. As for Xing, when she got home, she saw that her boyfriend had been back for a while, and moreover, she found a diamond ring hidden in his bag. Xing thought her boyfriend was also cheating just like Wang Ruohai, so she angrily grabbed him to question him. To her surprise, her boyfriend got down on one knee to propose. Xing burst with happiness, put on the ring, and nodded yes. Back to Qianfei. When she got home, she saw Li Yifei bossing around the workers he hired to completely replace his bedroom door, just because he complained the old door didn't have good soundproofing, and he was afraid of being bothered by Qianfei's noise. Looking at Li Yifei's bossy and snobby attitude, Qianfei hesitated, not knowing how to bring up asking him to look over her document. Stuck in a rut, she had to use her ultimate trick, purposely taking the time to cook a huge, delicious feast, and then inviting him to eat with her to find a chance to ask for a favor. To get Li Yifei to help give feedback, Qianfei took the effort to cook a lavish table of food to bribe the guy's stomach. Seeing the delicious food, Li Yifei was drooling, but seeing Qianfei just sitting there without touching her chopsticks, he felt it was very weird. He then probed to ask if the food was poisoned, even going so over the top as to stick his fingers down his throat to fake vomit, making Qianfei rush to stop him. Taking advantage of the moment Li Yifei was eating happily, Qianfei finally stated her wish, asking him to help look over the research report on the Sanlifang project. Li Yifei finally understood, then put on a self-important act, saying that this favor was huge and couldn't be settled with just one meal. Qianfei asked what she had to do for him to help. Li Yifei demanded that she must officially take him as her master. Even though Qianfei didn't agree, seeing that her attitude was quite sincere, he finally nodded and accepted. Qianfei jumped for joy and hurried off to get the report. Li Yifei took it to read, and the more he read, the more hooked he got. The extremely detailed data and documents inside gave him a lot of inspiration. He took the report and locked himself in his room to study it carefully, finally coming up with a way to solve the problem, and then immediately arranged for his subordinates to roll out the work exactly according to plan. As for Qianfei, she anxiously waited for Li Yifei's feedback. Finally, he stepped out and gave some incredibly professional and spot-on suggestions for edits. Qianfei walked the talk, immediately pulling an all-nighter to fix the report. Seeing this, Li Yifei couldn't help but sigh. If she had this kind of fierce working ability right from the start, she wouldn't have just been coasting along in her current position at the investment bank. Qianfei explained that in the past, she put too much of her heart and energy into her family. Li Yifei then told Qianfei that she was truly a weird girl. When other girls get dumped, they would definitely cry and whine, but she was way too calm. Was it because they loved each other for so long that the feelings were gone? Qianfei replied that the longer they are together, the deeper the feelings. It's a feeling that blends love, family ties, and even friendship. When losing it, the pain is like having your skin peeled and tendons ripped out. It's just that she didn't have time to drown in misery. When morning came, Qianfei finally finished editing. When she turned her head, she saw that Li Yifei was so sleepy that he passed out right on the couch. The next day, Qianfei invited her two best friends, Xing and Dang Yu, out to eat. Dang Yu's gaming buddy, whose nickname was Cheng Xiang, kept texting her continuously. Egged on by Qianfei and Xing, Dang Yu also texted back a few lines. Little did she know, on the other end, Juncheng, which was Cheng Xiang's real name, was going crazy with joy. Juncheng went to look for Li Yifei and unexpectedly bumped into Dang Yu. He offered to treat her to a meal to apologize for getting drunk and acting crazy the other day, but after hearing that, Dang Yu didn't say a word. The guy had no idea that Dang Yu was actually the gaming buddy he had been playing with all this time. As for Li Yifei, he also didn't know much about Dang Yu, only knowing that she was Qianfei's best friend and was also working at Hexing Investment Bank. Qianfei asked Dang Yu to sneakily put her report on Fang Yun's desk. Unexpectedly, Xian Yao saw it and took it upon herself to hide it away. Qianfei kept waiting at home for news. She thought that based on Fang Yun's personality, this matter shouldn't have dragged on for so long. Li Yifei then advised her to go and hand it directly to her boss in person tomorrow. In the evening, the two went out to the balcony to drink beer and opened up about their families. Li Yifei shared that he and his dad were totally incompatible. The two of them were like water and fire. Whatever made his dad happy would for sure make him miserable. Back in the day when his mom passed away, his dad was nowhere to be found. Hearing that, Qianfei also sadly shed tears. She thought about her current messy life. If her mom knew, she would definitely be so worried. After saying that, she completely passed out, not knowing anything anymore. Afraid she would catch a cold, Li Yifei had to carry her into the room. He just couldn't understand why every time she drank alcohol, Qianfei would drink until she was dead drunk like that. The next day, Qianfei personally went to hand the report directly to Fang Yun, while also telling her boss that she had asked someone to leave a copy in her office before. Fang Yun looked extremely annoyed and angry at the fact that Xian Yao dared to enter her office to take things on her own. She immediately called a meeting, handed out Qianfei's report for everyone to learn from, and at the same time announced that she was calling Qianfei to the company to meet her. Zhizhong Construction Company and Hexing Securities held a project connection meeting. Here, the development direction and scale of the Sanlifang company were introduced. Right after that, Fang Yun pulled out an agreement, offering to lock down the responsibilities and work of both sides in black and white, to avoid passing the buck to each other later. Seeing this, Li Yifei secretly texted his assistant, Zhao Da, and then used a stomachache as an excuse to slip away to the restroom. When the two met in the restroom, Li Yifei bluntly said he had seen right through Fang Yun's scheme. If they signed this agreement, and Sanlifang's scandal blew up in the future, Zhizhong would become the scapegoat taking the fall. He told Zhao Da to go out and buy some time, while for him, slipping away was the best move. Qianfei was still standing there waiting for Fang Yun. Seeing her just say goodbye to the Zhizhong group, Qianfei hurried over to cut her off. Fang Yun told Qianfei to follow her into the office, and then used a distant, cold tone to say that during the meeting, she quoted a few figures from Qianfei's report, and she would ask to give her a bonus for this. Qianfei quickly waved her hands, saying she didn't do it for the bonus. Fang Yun then laid her cards on the table. She knew Qianfei wanted to use the report to prove her skills and find a chance to come back to work at Hexing. But with the data Qianfei currently had, she still wasn't good enough to step foot into her project team. Looking at Fang Yun's stone-cold face, Qianfei knew saying more was useless, so she politely said goodbye and turned away. Seeing Dang Yu checking in on her with care, Qianfei declared, "I won't give up until I reach my goal." She was determined to find the most detailed data no matter what, and make the highest quality report to make Fang Yun totally convinced and impressed. Li Yifei then analyzed Fang Yun's psychology, thinking she was trying to force Qianfei to go find the data from 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, Sanlifang was still developing in Chengdu, so if Qianfei wanted the data, the only way was to make the long trip there. To help Qianfei, Li Yifei decided to go to Chengdu too. Before leaving, he purposely met with Liao Jinshan, using the excuse of going to a business meeting in Chengdu to ask him to sign a power of attorney to smoothly get Sanlifang's data from 3 years ago. Liao Jinshan very cheerfully agreed right away. Meanwhile, Qianfei went online and found the info of the person she needed to meet. But when booking the flight ticket, looking at the pricey ticket made her heart ache, but she still had to bite the bullet and take it. Arriving at the airport, she was super surprised to bump into Li Yifei, while the guy acted like everything was right in the palm of his hand. Getting on the plane, Li Yifei even voluntarily switched from business class down to sit next to her. Qianfei just kept her head down, studying the documents on the plane until she was exhausted, falling asleep right on his shoulder without even knowing it. Getting off the plane, the two went their separate ways. Thanks to Liao Jinshan's power of attorney, Li Yifei was welcomed extremely warmly by the branch office. However, after staying up all night checking the data and getting nothing, he got annoyed and secretly cursed Liao Jinshan for being a truly sly old fox. Even so, he still found out about a guy named Xianyu, who used to be an employee of Sanlifang but had now quit. Thanks to Zhao Da's investigation, he knew Xianyu was living in Taoyuan village, so he immediately drove there. Guided by the villagers, he found Xianyu and advised him. Since he already quit, There was no reason to cover up for his old company anymore. Xianyu replied sarcastically, saying that their goals were all the same. They were all selfish for their own personal gain, exactly like that girl stubbornly sitting inside the house over there. Li Yifei looked inside and freaked out. It turned out Qian Fei had already gotten here first. She had been begging and pleading in every way for a long time but still had no luck. Stepping into the house, Li Yifei saw Qian Fei playing with two kids, and he suddenly noticed that Xianyu's son, actually had autism. In the end, the two of them ended up empty-handed and got kicked out. Li Yifei blamed Qian Fei for daring to hide it from him and going to find Xianyu all by herself. Qian Fei confessed that she just wanted to prove her skills to Fang Yun. The two had to set up a tent on the edge of the village, slurping instant noodles together. Right at that moment, little Ag suddenly went missing. The two hurriedly ran off to look for him, and finally, thanks to the help of a little boy named Xianba, Ag's friend, they found the kid. Before leaving, Li Yifei gave Xianyu the phone number of an autism treatment expert, advising him to quickly take his kid to get treated. On the drive taking Qian Fei back to the city from Taoyuan village, to keep both of them from falling asleep, Li Yifei started telling ghost stories. Who would have thought that Qian Fei wasn't scared at all, but was actually dozing off? Li Yifei got too tired driving alone, so he planned to pull over to the side to rest. Qian Fei woke up with a start, telling him to let her drive instead, so he could sleep. Li Yifei was originally worried, but Qian Fei confidently patted her chest and said she got her driver's license at 18, so there was nothing to worry about. Too sleepy to hold on, he just let her be and leaned back in his seat to fall asleep. This nap lasted a whole 2 hours. When he opened his eyes, he was scared out of his mind and yelled out loud, "Hit the brakes!" It turned out Qian Fei was about to drive the car straight into a ditch. Even though he lunged forward to grab the steering wheel, it was too late. The car flipped sideways into the ditch, stuck tight and unable to budge. Both of them had to awkwardly crawl out, walking around to keep from freezing while complaining. While running back and forth, the two accidentally bumped into each other, and that moment made both of their hearts skip a beat. Qian Fei awkwardly dodged away in a hurry, and even teased Li Yifei for watching too many idol dramas to cover up her embarrassment. The next morning, thanks to some nice locals helping them push the car up, they drove straight back to the city. Surprisingly, on the way, Xianyu took the initiative to send all of Sanlifang's financial documents to Qian Fei. He was truly touched seeing that the two of them had the heart to help his son get treated. The two were super thrilled because this trip wasn't a waste of effort at all. With everything done, they got on a plane back to Shanghai. While waiting at the airport, Li Yifei got a call from Uncle Jiang letting him know his dad was injured. He immediately got anxious and couldn't sit still. As soon as he got off the plane, Li Yifei rushed home as fast as flying, only to be greeted by the sight of his dad walking the dog safe and sound. He was mad as hell because his dad always used this tricking tactic to force him to come back. He was about to turn on his heel and leave when his dad called him back, saying he really was hurt. He sprained his ankle. Li Yifei rolled his eyes and pouted. "It's just this, and Uncle Jiang dared to say you were bedridden?" His dad glossed over it, blaming Uncle Jiang for exaggerating. At the dining table with just the two of them, Li Yifei was quiet as a mouse. His dad had to break the ice, offering to pour investment money into his company. Li Yifei brushed it off right away. He totally knew his dad was using money as bait to force him back to take over the family company. His dad argued that a son coming back to manage his dad's business is just a matter of course. After that, he changed the subject to marriage, praising him for breaking up with that useless Gui Lele as the right move, and told him that if he wanted to find someone, he should find a decent girl who knows how to take care of a family to bring home and introduce. When leaving, Li Yifei didn't forget to swipe a box of premium tea from his dad. Getting back to the rental, Qian Fei eagerly asked about his dad's health, and even comforted him that older people having minor illnesses is normal, advising him not to worry too much. Seeing that Qian Fei had already finished putting together the report, Li Yifei's jaw dropped at her work speed. Seeing a few spots that needed tweaking, he rolled up his sleeves and helped her fix it right then. When she got to her room, Qian Fei sent a text to thank him. Li Yifei pushed his luck and demanded her to make tea-soaked eggs as a reward for his work. The project meeting between Hexing and Zhizhong took place again. After it was done, Li Yifei called Fang Yun out to talk privately. Fang Yun still put on a mysterious attitude, but Li Yifei laid his cards on the table right away. He knew she was hiding the truth about Sanlifang. Fang Yun was no pushover either. She called him out on walking out of the meeting halfway last time, and even sneaking off to Chengdu to investigate. Li Yifei took the chance to make a condition that he wanted Qian Fei to return to Hexing. Fang Yun hesitated, afraid that if Qian Fei came back, later when Sanlifang's scandal got exposed, Liao Jinshan would pin all the blame on Qian Fei. Seeing this, Li Yifei went all in. He announced that he would personally step up to expose the Sanlifang case, totally having nothing to do with Hexing. Hearing that hit the bullseye for Fang Yun, she pretended to be polite for a few sentences, and then nodded in agreement right away. Qian Fei was deep in a dream, seeing herself running around busily following Fang Yun all over the company when she was startled awake by the ringing phone. It was Dang Yu calling with a joyful voice. Human resources couldn't reach Qian Fei, so they had to ask Dang Yu to pass the news. She was officially reinstated. Hearing that, Qian Fei was thrilled, frantically changing clothes to rush to Hexing. As soon as they met, Fang Yun started by welcoming her back, but right after that dropped a final line. Just act like you don't know anything about Sanlifang's financial issues. Let Li Yifei step up and handle it himself. Inside, Qianfei's stomach was full of question marks, but she didn't dare to make a peep, having to nod obediently. With Liao Jingshan's birthday coming up, Liao Shiyu went out of her way to buy a branded set of golf gloves from abroad, handing them to Wang Ruohai so he could give them to his future father-in-law in his own name. But Liao Jingshan totally knew this gift wasn't picked by Wang Ruohai himself. He secretly warned him behind his daughter's back. If later on he dared to deal with his precious daughter in a half-hearted way like that, he would absolutely not let him off the hook. Hearing that, Wang Ruohai broke into a heavy sweat. After eating and drinking, on the drive taking him home, Liao Shiyu said that the fact her dad put him into Sanlifang's mega public listing project proved he deeply trusted and recognized his skills. Over here, Li Yifei got home and saw Qianfei mopping the floor over and over again, not seeing a single bit of excited vibe from someone who just got to go back to work. He asked in confusion, only to get chewed out by Qianfei. She scolded him for having a wanting to be a hero disease, daring to expose Liao Jingshan's finances all by himself, meaning he would somehow offend him to death. Li Yifei shrugged casually. Capable people just have to shoulder big responsibilities. Talking about Junqing again, the guy tagged along to meet Dang Yu, begging her to invite Qianfei to eat and making Li Yifei go too. Dang Yu thought Junqing was into Qianfei, so she happily agreed to be the matchmaker. While chatting, Junqing stated flat out that Li Yifei had definitely fallen in love with Qianfei. Otherwise, why would he just cram himself into that rental house forever? Li Yifei firmly denied it, insisting that Qianfei was not his type. That night when getting home, Li Yifei pestered Qianfei into cooking delicious food to thank him. Somehow drinking too much, Qianfei got dead drunk, not knowing anything, leaving Li Yifei stuck having to carry her into her room. In her drunken stupor, Qianfei wrapped her arms tight around his neck and wouldn't let go. Looking at Qianfei's face so close to his, Li Yifei's heart started racing wildly. Totally flustered, he immediately called Junqing, panicking as he admitted, maybe he had actually fallen for Qianfei. The next day, Qianfei cooked a huge feast to treat Dang Yu and celebrate going back to work. Xingxing was on a trip with her boyfriend and couldn't make it back in time, so Qianfei had to give her a video call. After hanging up, Xingxing was super worried. She already knew that Wang Ruohai had been put into the Sanlifang project, which meant Qianfei and he would definitely bump into each other. Her boyfriend advised her to give Qianfei a heads up so she could brace herself, but Xingxing felt torn and didn't know how to bring it up. It was time for the dinner that Junqing had Dang Yu set up, with Li Yifei coming along too. At the dinner table, Dang Yu kept her face glued to her phone playing games. Junqing accidentally caught a glimpse of her gamer tag and was mind-blown. She was actually the top-tier Paming, the gaming idol he always worshipped. Thrilled like he just struck gold, Junqing got so hyped he lost control and kept insisting on holding Dang Yu's hand, making the other customers around them stare in shock. Finding it super annoying to be tailed like that, Dang Yu had to use the excuse of going to the restroom to make a run for it. When Junqing found out, he frantically ran after her to show his fanboy love. Now there were only two of them left at the table. Qianfei thought about it for a bit, and then seriously suggested to Li Yifei, since she was back at work now, and their jobs were connected to each other, plus it was awkward for a single guy and a single girl to live together in the same house. Hearing that, Li Yifei snapped. What's so awkward about it? Guys and girls splitting the rent is everywhere these days. Stop being so old school. He even threw a fit, calling her out for burning bridges, saying he just helped her get her job back, and now she was already trying to kick him out. Qianfei then used his own words against him. Didn't you say before that once your money situation got a bit better, you would move out? Hearing that, Li Yifei immediately pulled out his phone and showed her. The balances on all his bank cards were pitifully low. Qianfei was speechless, totally clueless as to why his salary was sky-high but he couldn't save a single dime. Riding the wave, Li Yifei asked her to teach him how to save money. So Qianfei immediately waved down a waiter and pulled out some plastic bags to pack up all the leftovers to take home. Today is the day the project underwriting team meets the leadership of the client company, Sanlifang. When entering the building, boss Fang Yun specifically told Qianfei to remember the rule, watch more, talk less. At the same time, Li Yifei also led the team from Zhizhong Construction to the place. The Sanlifang side welcomed them very warmly, introducing each office in detail, as well as the facilities that had been prepared. After that, the client side held a banquet. The person in charge said that today boss Liao was busy unexpectedly, so VP Liao would represent him to attend. Just as the food and drinks were served, Liao Shiyu walked in slowly with Wang Ruohai. Facing her ex-boyfriend in this situation, Qianfei's heart couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions. And Wang Ruohai clearly looked awkward when he saw her. Since she had seen photos of Qianfei through Wang Ruohai, both of their expressions right now didn't escape Liao Shiyu's eyes. Liao Shiyu represented Sanlifang to welcome everyone. After a few polite opening words, the banquet officially started. During the meal, Wang Ruohai submissively picked up food for Liao Shiyu to suck up to her. Seeing the scene, Qianfei felt annoyed, so she could only keep her head down and eat to hide her emotions. When the hosts and guests started raising their glasses to toast each other, Fang Yun texted to remind Qianfei to go over and toast the chief financial officer of Sanlifang, who was Wang Ruohai. Although she was reluctant, Qianfei had to take her glass and walk over. Liao Xiyu just stared intensely without blinking. After toasting, Qianfei drank the whole glass in one go, which made Li Yifei very worried. Fang Yun quickly spoke up to subtly remind her that she only needed to take a sip to show her sincerity, since they still had to work this afternoon. Li Yifei also stood up and suggested using tea instead of alcohol, but Qianfei was so worked up right now that she just kept chugging several glasses in a row. Seeing that, Liao Xiyu purposely asked Fang Yun about her position, so Fang Yun introduced Qianfei as her assistant. Liao Xiyu fake praised Qianfei for being resourceful, saying that Sanlifang's public listing depended on industry talents like her. Unexpectedly, Qianfei didn't hold back and said straight out, Sanlifang's current files still need a lot of editing, and the financial reports have some issues that don't match the Securities Commission's rules. As soon as these words were said, the atmosphere immediately became super awkward. Inside, Fang Yun was very annoyed, but she couldn't show it on her face. Liao Xiyu's face turned extremely ugly. Seeing this, Li Yifei quickly tried to fix the situation, saying that they would guide Sanlifang to adjust those details gradually during the partnership. In short, they would still use the Securities Commission's requirements as the standard for reviewing and underwriting. His words clearly showed his stance. This wasn't just Qianfei's personal opinion, but a common concern shared by both Zhejiang Company and Hexing Securities. The party then continued, and this awkward incident was temporarily put aside. When the party ended, the hosts and guests said goodbye to each other. Liao Xiyu strode away. Wang Ruohai totally understood that Qianfei's blunder today was because of him, so he hurried to follow Liao Xiyu and apologized submissively. At the same time, as Qianfei followed Fang Yun to leave, Liao Xiyu sarcastically and indirectly reminded her to keep her professional and personal life separate. Qianfei replied in a soft but firm way, but was quickly pulled away by Fang Yun. In another scene, Junqing kept waiting for Dang Yu at Hexing, bringing her so much good food. The security guard saw his sneaky behavior and went to tell Dang Yu. As for Qianfei, she was called into the office by Fang Yun and got chewed out for not seeing the big picture and almost ruining a huge deal with her slip-up. The project to take Sanlifang public was a contract the company struggled hard to get. If she offended the client and caused trouble, she wouldn't be able to handle the responsibility. After calming down, Qianfei also felt regret for her impulsiveness. She sincerely apologized to Fang Yun, hoping her boss would give her another chance. Right then, Li Yifei appeared to save the day because he was worried about Qianfei. He purposely told Fang Yun that his assistant had an emergency and asked if Boss Fang could do him a favor since the company has so many talents and let him borrow someone temporarily for the project, like Qianfei standing right here. Thanks to that, Li Yifei helped Qianfei clear up the trouble. He also advised her not to throw away a hard-earned job opportunity over someone who isn't worth it. That night, Xing and Lu Zhe specifically invited Qianfei to dinner. The two of them actually knew Wang Ruohai was Liao Xiyu's chief financial officer beforehand, but they kept it a secret because they were afraid Qianfei would get distracted. Hearing that her two friends were getting married, after congratulating them, Qianfei couldn't help but feel a bit sorry for herself. Xing had everything perfect in both love and career, while she almost lost everything because of a jerk. At the same time at home, Li Yifei waited forever but didn't see Qianfei come home to cook, so he sadly pulled food out of the fridge and microwaved it for a quick meal. Junqing spent so much time waiting for Dang Yu that he accidentally fell asleep on a stone bench. It wasn't until the security guard woke him up that he realized all the securities company employees had already left. The security guard also reminded him that if he didn't have a staff ID next time, he shouldn't come here anymore. Meanwhile, Dang Yu left through the back door and headed home feeling super frustrated. She called to complain to Qianfei that she had clearly told Junqing to wait until the equipment was installed before joining the team, but he just kept being thick-skinned and stuck to her like glue. Qianfei teased right away. Maybe he's into you, which is why he's chasing you so hard. At the same time, Junqing was also calling Li Yifei, honestly confessing that he had been struck by love at first sight with Dang Yu. Li Yifei acted as a love advisor, telling the guy that looks aren't as good as being persistent, and to just keep sticking around because all girls like that. Junqing then asked back if Li Yifei was also being thick-skinned in chasing his landlord. Li Yifei brushed it off vaguely, saying their situations were different, but he had made up his mind not to move out, because as long as he stayed there would definitely be an opportunity. That day, Qianfei came home without turning on the lights, making Li Yifei jump in surprise when he walked out. Tiredly, Qianfei sighed about how life is so unpredictable. People who work themselves to death often get fired, while those who give their all for family end up heartbroken, just like Google Maps giving the wrong directions. Li Yifei didn't think so. He said no matter how much you go off track, a human's final destination is still the grave, so the experiences along the way are what matter most. Qianfei nodded in agreement, but a second later, seeing that Li Yifei didn't bother to wash the dishes after eating, she screamed out in a rage, while the guy quickly hid in his room and slammed the door shut. The next morning, Li Yifei invited Qianfei to go to work in his car. Looking at the cheap, ordinary car, Qianfei curled her lip and said this car suited his situation, advising him to stop chasing fake status and pretending to be a rich kid, and instead just work hard to save money and become a self-made millionaire from scratch. During work hours, Boss Fang Yun assigned tasks to everyone but ignored Qianfei, leaving her on the sidelines. Seeing that, Li Yifei immediately called Qianfei to bring him a glass of water as an excuse to talk. He brought up the time she exposed the data at the party, asking if she had left herself any way out. Helplessly, Qianfei said, "If I were that calculating, I wouldn't be getting the cold shoulder from my boss." After she left, Li Yifei immediately ordered his subordinates to set up a meeting with Liao Jinshan to find a way to clean up the mess. In another scene at the golf course, Wang Ruohai was holding an umbrella to shield Liao Jinshan from the sun, while constantly flattering his golfing skills. Liao Jinshan indirectly replied that Wang Ruohai was no amateur to have caught his daughter's eye, so he must be a smart guy. But what annoyed him was that as the chief financial officer, Wang Ruohai was the last one to discover the problem. He also wondered what that girl Qianfei was up to after putting in so much effort to get into the project team. Meeting Liao Jinshan, Li Yifei cut to the chase and apologized for the errors in Sanlifeng's financial data. Liao Jinshan didn't scold him much, just sighed, and said it would be great if the person by his daughter Liao Shiyu's side was Li Yifei. He raised his glass and announced that he was putting Li Yifei in charge of taking Sanlifeng public. As for Liao Shiyu, when she went to find Wang Ruohai and mentioned the talk between him and her dad, she told him not to feel too much pressure. Actually, it's better that the loopholes were exposed early. She really appreciated how bold Qianfei was. She said that after her dad retires, she will be the one in power at Sanlifeng, so she doesn't want the company to have any stains. Meanwhile, seeing Li Yifei clearly favor Qianfei, Fang Yan coldly warned her, "No matter what, you belong to Hexing Securities, so don't let Li Yifei use you." Walking past Qianfei's office, Wang Ruohai saw her still working hard on overtime, so he instinctively watched her for a moment, but then quietly left without a word. Hearing a noise, Qianfei turned around but only caught a glimpse of his back. On the other side, Jun Cheng went to Hexing Securities again. This time he was well prepared with a totally legit reason, being a local committee official coming to help with a fire safety inspection. Just as he stepped into the elevator, he caught a glimpse of Dang Yu and was about to call her name, but the elevator doors closed. While checking fire safety with the inspection team, Jun Cheng caught a glimpse of Dang Yu passing by. Feeling anxious, he used a stomachache as an excuse to go to the restroom to hurry after her, but he was too late. Instead, the behavior of a janitor ahead of him made him suspicious. He secretly followed her to a corner, and when the janitor took off her hat and mask, he freaked out. It was his own mother. Jun Cheng was always a golden boy, so his school and work were always taken care of by his parents from A to Z. This time, hearing rumors that her son was hitting on a girl at Hexing, his mom was curious to see what her future daughter-in-law looked like, so she asked a friend who worked as a janitor here for help, posing as a cleaner to tell her son. After hearing the story, Jun Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and had to talk his ear off to get her to go home. When the inspection team finished, and the leader was wrapping up, Jun Cheng saw Dang Yu again, and planned to say hi, but the leader stopped him. Back home, his parents were still waiting around to hear about his victory. He helplessly tried to explain that he was just busy working, and had no time for dating. Hearing that, his parents felt even more relieved, proudly thinking that with such a driven son, a promotion must be coming soon. After several days of lurking and staking out, Jun Cheng finally tracked down where Dang Yu lived. He sat in his car playing games and waiting for her. After a long while, he felt hungry, so he ordered takeout and didn't forget to get a portion for Dang Yu too. Annoyed, Dang Yu ran downstairs to shut Jun Cheng down, warning him to stop bothering her, or she would call the police next time. Jun Cheng invited Li Yifei out to eat to vent his feelings. Li Yifei stuck to his guns. When chasing a girl, you have to be thick-skinned and follow through to the end. Jun Cheng, humbly, asked if the guy was also using that same trick on his landlord. Li Yifei quickly denied it, saying he wouldn't dare because Qianfei had once sworn that she would never like him, or else she'd be struck by lightning. He said doing that would be like forcing the heavens to make a mistake. As for Qianfei, after finding out Li Yifei had published a book, her impression of him did a total 180. She stayed up all night grinding through his masterpiece so much that she almost ran late for work the next morning. Being in a rush, she hopped into Li Yifei's car for a ride and fell fast asleep without even knowing it. Seeing Qianfei sleeping so soundly, even when they reached the company gate, Li Yifei didn't have the heart to wake her up. He drove the car down into the garage so she could sleep a little longer. When Qianfei woke up with a start and hurried out of the car, she accidentally caught the eye of Fang Yun, who was about to park. Fang Yun had already noticed that Li Yifei had a special interest in Qianfei. She called Qianfei out to the riverbank, first acknowledging her professional skills, but then immediately turned around to criticize her harshly. Fang Yun scolded Qianfei for being too stupid and impulsive by publicly exposing Sanlifeng's financial issues, nearly ruining the whole project. If Li Yifei hadn't quietly cleaned up the mess, Qianfei would have caused irreversible damage. Fang Yun warned her, Li Yifei is a very sophisticated person, and Qianfei must focus 120% of her energy on researching the project so she doesn't end up on the back foot. When work was over, Li Yifei went to find Qianfei but saw she was no longer there. Thinking she had gone home, he drove back, but when he opened the door, there was no one in sight. Actually, Qianfei was still grinding at the office working overtime. She wrote all the project documents on the board, carefully double-checking how the numbers connected to analyze everything from top to bottom. Not seeing Qianfei at home, Li Yifei couldn't sit still, so he drove back to the office. Stepping into Qianfei's office, he immediately saw the whiteboard covered in writing. Seeing the clock showing it was super late, but Qianfei still hadn't gone home, Li Yifei felt bad for her and walked in. After filling up 2 boards, Qianfei was totally exhausted and fell asleep right on the couch, not caring about how she looked. Seeing this, Li Yifei was both impressed and worried. He went over to gently wake her up, telling her to just go home and rest, and he would personally approve her leave. Qianfei glanced at the watch on his wrist, saw it was almost 5 a.m. So she said there was no point going back since she was still Boss Fong's soldier anyway and had to report for work early in the morning. Then, she told Li Yifei to leave quickly because there were cameras everywhere and she didn't want people gossiping if they saw them. Li Yifei had to leave grumpily, muttering to himself that Qianfei was so ungrateful. After that, he also went to his office and crashed on the couch with his clothes still on. When Qianfei opened her eyes, it was already broad daylight and co-workers were starting to show up for work. She hurriedly packed her things and bumped into Fong Yun. Boss Fong asked her to present her work logic to everyone right away in the morning meeting. Hearing this, Qianfei's mind went blank. She didn't have time to take a photo of the board yesterday, and now she couldn't remember a single word. After washing her face in the restroom, she walked into the meeting room planning to tell the truth. To her surprise, Boss Fong spoke first. Boss Lee already printed out the summary of your ideas and handed it out to everyone. Generally, it looks very good, but some small details need more clearing up. Holding the printout of her board prepared by Li Yifei, Qianfei finally sighed in relief. Her thoughts came rushing back. She picked up the chalk and confidently gave a presentation that was smooth as silk. After the meeting, Qianfei purposefully looked for Li Yifei to thank him, but her attitude was very distant. A coworker told Qianfei that Boss Fong wanted her to hand over all the data she was holding. Hearing that, Li Yifei immediately called Qianfei to the rooftop. He asked why she was being so cold to him. Qianfei frankly shared Fong Yun's analysis that him taking the initiative to fix the report and borrowing her data wasn't out of kindness, but because he wanted to use her to pressure Fong Yun and feel out the other side's stance to uncover Sanlifang's financial loopholes. Feeling hurt, Qianfei felt she had accidentally become a pawn in his office politics, being led by the nose without even knowing it. Qianfei concluded that Li Yifei wasn't as sunny and innocent as he looked, but was actually a very deep and calculating person. Li Yifei gave a bitter laugh and said that the investment banking world isn't a fairy tale, so don't expect anyone to be innocent. He advised her not to listen to others' instigation and let herself become a tool for someone else to use. Clearly, Fong Yun was currently wasting her time. If she had the skills but didn't fight for opportunities, people would just think she was incompetent. Thanks to Li Yifei's encouragement, Qianfei boldly went to find Fong Yun to demand her work rights. After hearing this, Fong Yun smiled and replied that she had always been waiting for her to come and ask. The person who catches her eye needs to be more than just skilled and ambitious. They also need to have confidence. She decided that from now on, she would have Qianfei work with her on the financial reports. Hearing that, Qianfei was visibly thrilled. Moving on to Juncheng, he stood there holding a bouquet of flowers, waiting for Dang Yu to finish work. Dang Yu found it super annoying, but because her coworkers swarmed in to tease her, she reluctantly agreed to go to dinner with him. In the middle of the meal, as Juncheng was rambling on about himself, Dang Yu bluntly cut him off and said she wasn't interested at all. She ended it by saying this meal counted as his confession and her rejection. Then she turned on her heel and left. Juncheng was in total agony. After a round of drinking to drown his sorrows with Li Yifei's group of friends, he went home feeling miserable and passed out. His parents were worried sick, trying every way to unlock their son's phone to find out what happened. At the same time, the project alignment meeting between Party A and Party B began. Surprisingly, the representative for Liao Jinshan who came to the meeting was Gui Lele, the new chairman's assistant. Despite her appearance, Li Yifei remained poised and gave a smooth presentation, leaving Gui Lele totally flustered. As soon as the meeting was over, she hurried off. Afterward, she texted Qianfei to ask about Li Yifei's situation, and at the same time, she poked at her to see if the two were dating. Seeing that, Li Yifei snatched the phone to answer it for her, and Qianfei lunged to get it back, causing them both to fall onto each other. This sketchy scene of them wrestling for the phone made Zhao to act very smart as he quietly slipped outside. When he came back, even though the two had separated, the atmosphere in the room was still super awkward. When they continued playing cards, Qianfei was on fire, constantly throwing down 4 of a kind, making Li Yifei and Zhao to groan because they couldn't handle it. A bit later, Qianfei talked about the Gui Lele situation with her best friend. Xingxing looking at her friend's pale, bare face, Xingxing could only shake her head in disappointment. Qianfei didn't agree and argued back, saying that back in college, she had plenty of guys chasing her. Xingxing sighed and said she really missed the old Qianfei, whose clothes and makeup were always lit, but since living with Wang Ruohai, her fashion sense had become a messy hot pot, and she really couldn't look at it. Seeing her friend's long face, Xingxing quickly pulled out her phone to show off a few high-quality matches she had carefully picked for Qianfei. But Qianfei looked them over and picked them apart, curling her lip and saying these guys looked average, not even as handsome as her tenant. In the early morning, just after they woke up, Li Yifei had to go to the bathroom badly, so he rushed straight into Qianfei's bathroom, using the excuse that the outside toilet was clogged to ask for a turn. When he finished and stepped out, Qianfei had already unclogged the toilet in the guest bathroom by herself. Li Yifei's eyes went wide as if he saw a ghost. While Qianfei was grinding her teeth, just wanting to eat the guy alive. Sensing danger, Li Yifei quickly sent a ting-ting money transfer, saying he would pay extra rent. When it was time for work, because the car was in the shop for maintenance, the two had to drag themselves onto the bus. Qianfei stopped by the side of the road to buy a grilled pancake, and Li Yifei curled his lip, looking down on street food, so she only bought one for herself. Seeing Qianfei eating happily, with a mouth-watering smell wafting over, Li Yifei couldn't help himself and snatched it to take a huge bite. Qianfei wasn't going to let that slide, so the two walked along while fighting over the same pancake. Li Yifei ordered a lot of books, and when the books arrived at the reception desk, he asked Qianfei to pick them up for him. Qianfei secretly took a photo of the list, thinking to herself, a fake rich kid like Li Yifei who actually does well in investment banking must have grinded through these books. No sooner said than done. She bought the exact same set, even carefully wrapping the covers to avoid getting caught. Sunday came, and Li Yifei woke up with his mouth open, waiting for Qianfei to cook. Too bad she had to go to the hospital to visit a sick co-worker, so he had to stay hungry and obediently waited home for her to feed him. Qianfei bought groceries and told him to go wash the vegetables. He didn't really want to, but for his stomach's sake, Li Yifei obediently did what he was told. Seeing his clumsy, snail-paced movement, Qianfei sighed helplessly. At your speed, there won't be food to eat until tomorrow morning. Wang Ruohai was video calling his parents, and they saw he wasn't at the old place, so they kept asking how the renovation of his and Qianfei's wedding house was going. He had to brush it off, and just then he heard a knock on the door, so he hung up right away. The person at the door was Liao Shiyu. Wang Ruohai was a bit flustered, but Liao Shiyu didn't look down on the shabby rental room at all, and even affectionately linked arms with him. Right after that, Wang Ruohai's dad texted to say his mom needed kidney transplant surgery and asked how much money he could find. Seeing his awkward face, Liao Shiyu suspiciously asked if he was texting Qianfei. Wang Ruohai quickly explained that since the breakup, the two of them hadn't contacted each other even once. Using cockroaches in his room as an excuse, Li Yifei tricked Qianfei into cleaning up his whole mess. Looking at the neat and tidy room, he looked very smug, but Qianfei threw a wet blanket on him, demanding he move out because she was sick of serving this fake rich guy. Li Yifei immediately played the pity card, making up a whole tragic story about his unhappy childhood. Hearing that, Qianfei felt soft-hearted and let him stay. However, she decided to set clear prices for all chores. From now on, if he wants her to do anything for him, pay up. Regarding business, Lu Zhe's company was a partner of San Lefang but was facing difficulties. Lu Zhe originally planned to ride the wave of San Lefang's public listing to bring his company back from the dead, but unexpectedly Liao Shiyu coldly set a condition forcing them to transfer their shares. Lu Zhe went to find Liao Shiyu. He thought that as San Lefang prepared to go public, it should take along Tantam Shiji, his close business partner. But now he got news that Tantam Shiji would be pushed out. Lu Zhe felt this was too cruel. After all, Tantam Shiji had contributed a lot to San Lefang's growth. Liao Shiyu bluntly replied that the capitalist world is just that cruel, and during this listing process, the securities company also taught her a lesson. Lu Zhe asked if it was Hexing Securities, because he had a friend working there. Liao Shiyu nodded and asked for his friend's name, saying she might know them. When Lu Zhe mentioned Qianfei's name, Liao Shiyu was very surprised and revealed that Qianfei was the one who suggested the plan to cut Tantam Shiji. Hearing this, Lu Zhe was totally shocked, then he angrily declared that he would definitely find a new investor to take over and not let Tantam Shiji just vanish. Meanwhile, Qianfei was sitting in the lobby waiting for Xing Xing, and in her free time, she didn't forget to study. When Xing Xing arrived and saw her reading a book entirely in English and taking notes very carefully, she remarked that Qianfei had changed so much lately. Qianfei said she was influenced by Li Yifei. Before, she thought he was just eye candy, but it turned out he was a magic bag, and anything he pulled out was extremely professional. Xing Xing came to pick up Lu Zhe this time, and brought the teddy bear that Qianfei likes. Qianfei absolutely loved it. She felt this bear in a suit looked quite like Li Yifei. Xing Xing teased her, saying she's been acting a bit off lately, as every 3 sentences she mentions Li Yifei again. While Xing Xing stepped out to take a call, Lu Zhe walked up with a grim face. Qianfei asked him what he was doing there to see Liao Shiyu. Lu Zhe said crossly, didn't she already know why he was here? Qianfei replied blankly that she really didn't know anything. Lu Zhe used a reproachful tone and told Qianfei that, in Xing Xing's heart, she wasn't just a best friend but like a real sister. Her position was even higher than his, yet she went and did something like that. Qianfei still stood there clueless, not understanding a thing. Lu Zhe then questioned her, were you the one who proposed the plan to kick out Tantam Shiji to clear the path for San Lefang to go public? Qianfei hurriedly explained that she totally didn't know about this, but Lu Zhe thought she was just covering it up. Right then, Xing Xing had something to do and told Lu Zhe to take her, so the two left in a hurry. Qianfei went to find Li Yifei while he was working out. She kept increasing the weights for him, and as a result, Li Yifei sprained his arm, so Qianfei had to massage it for him. When she asked about the Tantam Shiji situation, Li Yifei didn't deny it. He explained that what she proposed was just a framework, but applying it to reality is very complicated. Tantam Shiji was carrying way too much debt and had become a tool for Liao Jinshan to drain money. If San Lefang wanted to go public, they had to cut off this bad asset. Qianfei told him to think of a way to save Tantam Shiji, but Li Yifei said there was no way for now. The next day, Xing took Qianfei to see her new house, and then the two went to Qianfei's house for dinner. Because Lu Zhe didn't want to face Qianfei, he purposely hid and didn't show up. In the evening, Li Yifei had an appointment, so he said goodbye to Xing and went out. Qianfei was just about to tell Xing about Tantam Shiji when there was a knock on the door. When she opened it, she saw it was Wang Ruohai. He came to demand the house money, a total of 500,000 yuan. Qianfei said she didn't have the money right now and would pay him back as soon as she did. Wang Ruohai acted very agitated and also demanded that Qianfei withdraw from the project team because he was afraid their relationship would cause misunderstandings and put pressure on him. Xing was boiling with rage after hearing that. She didn't expect Wang Ruohai to be such a scumbag, turning around to threaten Qianfei when he couldn't get the money. Just as the two sides were scuffling, Li Yifei suddenly returned. He lunged at Wang Ruohai and immediately gave him a really sharp shoulder throw. Wang Ruohai fell and bruised his nose, then scrambled downstairs in fear. It turned out Li Yifei came back because he forgot his car keys. Liao Shiyu video called Wang Ruohai, saw the injury on his face and hurried over. Liao Shiyu came and asked questions right away, but Wang Ruohai hid the real reason he got hit, making up a story that he had a fight with the driver while calling for a car. Liao Shiyu knew he wasn't telling the truth, so she subtly reminded him that she hoped he would share everything with her first in the future. When Li Yifei got home, he saw 4 decent dishes laid out on the table. He knew Qianfei saved them for him but was still a bit surprised. Qianfei came out of the room and shyly said that the meal was to thank him for helping her chase Wang Ruohai away. Jun Cheng went home and crashed. His parents saw he was acting strange and ran over to press him for what happened, but Jun Cheng just crossly covered himself completely with the blanket. Mama June guessed that her son was having trouble at work, while his dad was sure it was because a girl rejected him. Mama June immediately brushed it off, thinking how could her son be rejected when he's such a great catch. So to help their son find a girlfriend, the next day his parents tricked Jun Cheng into going to the matchmaking corner at the park. A crowd of moms and dads had already gathered there. Seeing that Jun Cheng was handsome, everyone swarmed and surrounded him. Mama June proudly started promoting her son, graduated from college, already a civil servant. Many parents of girls were impressed and competed to ask for his contact info. But Jun Cheng didn't have a single bit of interest. Right then, he saw Dang Yu jogging past and hurriedly chased after her. Seeing their son run away, Jun Cheng's parents also pushed through the crowd to chase after him. Out of breath, Jun Cheng caught up to Dang Yu and asked her what he was lacking and why she wouldn't accept him. Dang Yu bluntly replied that him stubbornly doing whatever he wanted had caused her trouble. She was the type of person who loved independence and freedom, while Jun Cheng was a total mama's boy, so he wasn't her type. These words fell right into the ears of Jun Cheng's parents, who were hiding behind a bush. Both were hit hard, especially Mama June. She couldn't accept Dang Yu calling her son a mama's boy, so she screamed out and demanded to go out and argue with her to set things straight. Li Yifei got home and saw that Qianfei didn't cook like usual, but kept herself locked in her room. He had to order takeout for both of them, but Qianfei was so busy she didn't even care about eating. Li Yifei was very curious about what she was doing in there. This situation lasted for 2 whole days, so Li Yifei started to worry and went to knock on the door. Right at that moment, Qianfei opened the door and stepped out, yawning her head off. Seeing her worn-out look, it seemed like she had stayed up all night without any rest. Qianfei explained that she had taken on a side project for translation and just finished it. Li Yifei sighed, thinking this girl was totally killing herself just to make money. Lu Zhe went all the way to Sanlifang to confront Li Yifei, demanding to know why Tantam Shiji was being pushed out. Qianfei invited him into Li Yifei's office and pulled out the previous partnership contract between him and Sanlifang. It turned out Sanlifang had been wary of Tantam Shiji from the start. The contract signed between the two sides was actually a loan and not an investment relationship at all. On the other hand, Xing was absolutely furious that Wang Ruohai not only dumped Qianfei, but also forced her to pay back such a huge amount of house money immediately. She took the money she had originally saved for her own wedding to find Wang Ruohai, exposing his scumbag nature right in broad daylight. The shouting match between the two caught the attention of a lot of people around them. When she found out Wang Ruohai's mother was seriously ill, Qianfei spoke up and said she would try to scrape the money together to pay him back as soon as possible. Liao Shiyu was about to call security to kick Xing out, but Lu Zhe immediately rushed forward to protect Xing with all his might, making the scene very chaotic. Xing was very surprised to see Lu Zhe show up there. Meanwhile, Liao Shiyu was convinced that Lu Zhe was just bitter about Tantam Shiji being excluded and was putting on this whole act on purpose. Liao Shiyu insisted that Xing was someone sent by Lu Zhe to ruin things, just because he was unhappy about Tantam Shiji being split off. Hearing that, Xing looked totally confused and didn't understand a thing, so she turned to Lu Zhe and asked what on earth was going on. Lu Zhe then turned to look at Qianfei, and the two of them almost asked each other at the same time. "You haven't told Xing yet?" Lu Zhe pulled Xing outside, saying he had something to talk to her about. Getting in the car, Lu Zhe finally told her the whole story about the difficulties the company was facing. After hearing it, Xing was extremely upset. She felt that he clearly didn't see her as his closest person, since such a huge thing happened, and she was the last one to find out. She asked Lu Zhe what he planned to do. Lu Zhe replied that he had to save the company at all costs. It was like his brainchild, and he had poured too much heart and soul into it. Lu Zhe decided to put all of his assets into keeping the company alive, while looking for a new investor at the same time. Xing immediately objected. She believed that for the past 3 years, the company hadn't developed any new products. So Lu Zhe, throwing all his money and effort into it despite the consequences, was like a bet that was bound to lose. She suggested they just have the wedding first, then go on a honeymoon to let Lu Zhe clear his head before figuring out the next steps. But Lu Zhe shook his head, saying that with the current situation, the wedding definitely had to be postponed, as he had no mind for anything else. Angry, Xing asked him straight out, "If you had to choose between the company and me, who would you choose?" Lu Zhe was in a very tough spot. He explained that he was working hard to revive the company just because he wanted to provide a better life for Xing. These two things were not contradictory at all, so there was no such thing as having to choose one over the other. Seeing that Lu Zhe was indeed only buried in his career, Xing angrily pulled off the ring on her finger and shoved it into his hand, then turned her back and walked away without looking back. As for Liao Xiyu, she called Wang Ruohai into the office and gave him a piece of her mind, saying that if something was happening at his home, he should have told her. Wang Ruohai explained that he clearly knew that amount of money meant nothing to her, but he didn't want their relationship to get involved with money matters. Hearing that, Liao Xiyu took the initiative to offer the money up front as a loan, and only then did Wang Ruohai nod and agree. At the same time, the gossip about Xing stopping Wang Ruohai in the lobby to pay him back was buzzing throughout the entire company. Everyone finally realized that Wang Ruohai was a total scumbag who was willing to cheat just to ride the coattails of the socialite Liao Xiyu and climb the social ladder. Jianfei heard the talk but didn't say anything and just kept her head down to work. Zhao De wandered over, clicking his tongue and saying he was really sick of Liao Xiyu and that she was only arrogant because she was born into the right family with a great dad. Jianfei changed the subject and asked where Li Yifei was, and Zhao De said he was off taking care of other business. Right now, Li Yifei was accompanying an investor named Boss Tang and a group of people to visit their agricultural project. After being in operation for a while, this project had taken off like crazy. Boss Tang was very curious and didn't understand why young people like him were so interested in pouring money into the agricultural sector. Li Yifei then enthusiastically presented his ideals and the original purpose of the investment. He explained that modern agriculture has been integrated with high technology, so it's no longer about breaking your back in the fields with manual plows like in the old days. Modern technological factors have boosted this new kind of agriculture to grow at a lightning pace, making it extremely worth investing in with a very bright future. After seeing off Boss Tang's group, Li Yifei ignored his co-workers' teasing and rushed home as fast as he could. Jianfei brought Xing's money back home and found that Li Yifei wasn't back yet. She waited forever but didn't see any sign of him, so she just went to sleep first. When Li Yifei got back, he saw that Jianfei's door was still wide open, and she was lying on the bed with a wild sleeping posture, limbs spread out and the blanket all messy. He walked over and pulled the blanket back up for her. While casually flipping through Jianfei's book, Li Yifei chuckled, realizing she was secretly copying his reading list. The next morning, Li Yifei was in a rush to wear a white shirt, so he begged Jianfei to help him wash it. Jianfei was convinced the shirt was just a regular, super fake knockoff, so she casually tossed it into the washing machine. Li Yifei was heartbroken when he saw it, especially when he saw the high-end button get snapped off by the washer drum, making him want to scream. Lu Zhe went all the way to Li Tianxing's house to convince him to invest in his company, Tantam Vision. Hearing from an acquaintance that Boss Li was very open-minded, Lu Zhe decided to take a gamble on this, seeing it as his last chance. After waiting for a long time, he finally saw Li Tianxing coming back from walking the dog. Actually, he had been eyeing Tantam Vision for a while and decided not to invest. The reason was that this project didn't have a clear operating plan or a set time for a return on investment, so he couldn't evaluate the profit margin. Lu Zhe suddenly remembered that Li Yifei had said the exact same thing. Tantam Vision is now just a pie-in-the-sky project with nothing realistic about it, and looking at it, this pie actually belongs to someone else, so no one is stupid enough to throw money into something like that. In the end, Lu Zhe walked out of the villa in disappointment. Before he left, Boss Li advised him not to worry too much, saying that facing some setbacks while young is not a bad thing. Jianfei brought a suitcase to return to Xing. At that time, Xing was eating instant noodles, all by herself in her new home. Jianfei asked if Xing blamed her for ruining Lu Zhe's company business. Hearing this, Xing acted like she didn't mind. She understood that re-evaluating assets for Sanlifeng's public listing was Jianfei's responsibility, and since Tantam Shiji was doing poorly, trouble was bound to happen sooner or later, so how could she blame Jianfei? Mentioning Lu Zhe, Xing got angry again, thinking he was just a workaholic who was always conservative and stubborn. Hearing that Xing and Lu Zhe had broken up, Jianfei was quite surprised. She asked Xing if she still loved Lu Zhe, but Xing avoided the question. As for Lu Zhe, after Xing left, he returned to the empty house. Looking at the empty room and remembering the memories they shared, he felt a sense of loss and covered his face. The Fulapida agricultural project led by Li Yifei and his friends started to bear fruit after a period of operation. General Manager Tang, representing the investors, was signing the contract. Everyone present believed that by catching the country's lightning-fast modernization pace, this project would surely have a bright future. With Jun Cheng's birthday coming up, Li Yifei brought a gift. Seeing his friend looking gloomy and sad, Yifei encouraged him not to be pessimistic. Jun Cheng was very depressed because Dang Yu scolded him for being a mama's boy. Li Yifei advised his friend to change for love just like him. From a spoiled rich boy who never touched chores, he had now been trained by his landlord to be a pro at washing dishes and picking vegetables. Jun Cheng went home, and his mom told him to bring some cherries to Li Yifei and invite him over for dinner this weekend to celebrate his birthday. Li Yifei tried his best to talk Qian Fei into coming along. Afraid she would be shy going alone, he urged her to call and invite Dang Yu to join. But when Qian Fei called, Dang Yu said she had already received an invitation from Jun Cheng's mom. On the weekend, everyone gathered to eat at Jun Cheng's house. During the meal, Jun Cheng's mom intentionally pressured Dang Yu by putting down her job and acting superior as a Shanghainese person toward a girl from Yunnan like Dang Yu. For the first time, Jun Cheng didn't side with his mom. Before the meal was even finished, he angrily pulled Dang Yu and left. Outside, Jun Cheng apologized profusely, while Dang Yu was very happy to see him brave enough to say no to his mom. Li Yifei saw Qian Fei reading and doing chores at the same time and thought, one mind cannot do two things. Saying learning like that wouldn't work. Unexpectedly, when he casually quizzed her on a few things, she answered smoothly and perfectly. Li Yifei unconsciously had to look at her in a different light. Qian Fei then proudly bragged that when she was in school, she was nicknamed Straight A Fei. The incident where Wang Ruohai made a fool of himself last time was spreading like wildfire on the internet. Li Yifei realized someone was purposely pulling strings behind the scenes, so he immediately made a call to have someone handle it. Hearing her coworkers buzzing with gossip, Qian Fei felt very uncomfortable. Wang Ruohai went to see Liao Xiyu and told her to put on pressure to transfer Qian Fei somewhere else. But Liao Xiyu firmly kept her there, thinking that now of all times they couldn't back down, and keeping her was the way to protect Wang Ruohai. When evening came, Qian Fei finished cooking but still didn't see Li Yifei come home. Unable to wait any longer, Qian Fei had to set the table and eat first. When Li Yifei got back and saw the meal ready, he jumped right in and ate heartily. Right at this moment, Qian Fei spoke up and said living together wasn't convenient anymore, and she hoped he would move out. Li Yifei flat out refused. Seeing that, Qian Fei suddenly burst into tears. She knew he had quietly shouldered a lot of things for her, so she sobbed and asked why he was treating her so well. Li Yifei hurriedly comforted her, saying he could pay more rent. While still whimpering, Qian Fei still took the chance to ask how much the increase would be. Yifei teased her for being money-hungry, and then settled on an extra 1,000 yuan per month. Just then, a shipper delivered a package, and Li Yifei ran out to get it. When Qian Fei opened it, she was freaked out to find it was a lawyer's notice sent to her by the Sanlifang Hotel. Sanlifang believed the video of Wang Ruohai in the hotel lobby spreading online had caused them a bad reputation. Therefore, they demanded that the person involved, Qian Fei, and the person who posted the video, Dang Yu, publicly apologize and take all responsibility. Qian Fei called Dang Yu and found out her friend had also just received a lawyer's letter. Dang Yu admitted that at the time, she was so mad after filming it that she put it online. If this made Qian Fei lose her job, she would really regret it. Qian Fei was also very depressed and slumped down on her bed. Li Yifei called out from outside the door to comfort her, telling her not to worry about a few lawyer letters, saying they were all just scare tactics. The next day, Dang Yu started a live stream to publicly apologize for carelessly posting the video online without verifying it clearly first. However, she was fiercely attacked by some netizens, and unable to take it, she had to turn off the live. Seeing this, Jun Cheng also immediately started a live stream to publicly support Dang Yu. He sat stubbornly in his car, skipping food and water to argue with the netizens. He used his verbal skills to fight the crowd and get justice for Dang Yu, hoping everyone could look at the situation objectively. Early in the morning, Qian Fei went to see Liao Xiyu to apologize for personal matters affecting the company, hoping she would withdraw the lawyer's letter. Liao Xiyu coldly replied that once the legal department is involved, they just follow the procedure. Jun Cheng's mom saw her son fighting alone for Dang Yu online, so she quickly sent a private message telling him to stop right away, or else the online community might dox him and affect his job, since he is a civil servant. Seeing his mom's words insulting Dang Yu, Jun Cheng got mad and blocked his own mother. At the office, while Qian Fei was preparing meeting documents, Fang Yun sent someone to tell her she didn't need to participate today. Dang Yu saw Jun Cheng risking everything to protect her and was deeply moved, so she took the initiative to invite him on a date. The two of them went together to play an escape room game. Jun Cheng's parents were worried, so they went all the way to his office to find him, then tracked him down to where they were playing. Getting the cold shoulder from Fang Yun, Qian Fei was sad and gloomy until it was time to leave work. Li Yifei invited her to go home together, advising her that no matter what the result is tomorrow, she must stay upbeat and confidently show her style. No sooner said than done, Li Yifei dragged Qian Fei into the mall. He personally picked out some very stylish outfits for her and even paired them with high heels. Qian Fei looked very slim and graceful in them, making Li Yifei's eyes light up. He didn't expect her figure to be so beautiful. Seeing the expensive clothing prices, Qian Fei quickly said she had no money to buy them. Li Yifei brushed it off, told her not to worry about the payment, and then took her to get a new hairstyle. On the way home, The two of them joked around loudly. Qianfei had never worn high heels before, so she stumbled and almost fell. Li Yifei quickly caught her, they bumped into each other, and the situation was so embarrassing they wanted to disappear. In another scene, Liao Xiyu called to blame her dad for going over her head and arbitrarily sending the lawyer's letter to Qianfei and Dang Yu. Meanwhile, Wang Ruohai acted understanding, saying Qianfei really shouldn't stay on the underwriting team anymore. Wang Ruohai suggested removing Qianfei from the underwriting team, but Liao Xiyu said she didn't care whether Qianfei stayed or left. What she cared about was whether hexing could help Sanlifang go public, and for that goal, she could endure anything. The next morning, Qianfei dressed up for a makeover and went to the office in high spirits. Accustomed to her plain look, her co-workers all stared in surprise. No one expected Qianfei to look so outstanding with makeup. A true great beauty. A co-worker nearby couldn't help but admire her, saying it was impressive that Qianfei didn't break down even after all this. Qianfei smiled and said that a sad day and a happy day both pass the same way, so it's better to just stay happy and keep your peace of mind. While going downstairs to get some stuff, she happened to be in the same elevator as Li Yifei. Feeling happy, she specifically thanked him. Li Yifei pushed his luck and made her treat him to a barbecue dinner. Suddenly, a guy came up trying to flirt with Qianfei, but Li Yifei pulled her away immediately. Dang Yu usually works as a running buddy for students. Jun Cheng's mom was curious, so she hung around to ask her students. Finding out the dance studio where Dang Yu worked part-time was nearby, she went to check it out. It turned out the owner there was an acquaintance, and he warmly invited her to be a consultant. Jun Cheng's mom agreed right away, and even purposely chose work hours that overlapped with Dang Yu's shift. As for Lu Zhe, he struggled to find money but couldn't solve anything, so he bit the bullet and announced the closing of Tantam Vision because he couldn't drag the whole team down to drown with him. After everyone left, Lu Zhe sat quietly in the empty office. Remembering the excitement of starting out in Xing Xing's bright, happy smile back then, his heart was full of pain. The Wang Ruohai situation online was still being pushed to a climax. Even the video of Qianfei meeting Liao Xiyu to apologize was leaked and spread online. Wang Ruohai was furious, thinking Liao Xiyu was too nice and didn't really know Qianfei's character. Liao Xiyu also thought Qianfei was very calculating for daring to trap even her. So she burst into the meeting room, asked everyone else to leave, and left only Qianfei. She scolded and blamed Qianfei for taking advantage of her. Qianfei had also seen that video and insisted she totally didn't know what was going on, and that she was a victim herself. Liao Xiyu ignored the explanation, called Fang Yun indirectly, and demanded that Qianfei be kicked off the underwriting team. The surprise was that Fang Yun refused. She declared that whether her employees stay or leave is for her to decide. If Liao Xiyu had trouble, she should let Sanlifang's PR team handle it. As for whether an employee stays in the group, it's based entirely on workability. Liao Xiyu kept pushing, but Fang Yun's face darkened as she said Liao Xiyu was questioning the professionalism of hexing. Liao Xiyu had no other choice, so she grumpily dropped a "we'll see" and left in a huff. Qianfei apologized to Fang Yun, and Fang Yun told her to use her professionalism to prove her skills. Qianfei was convinced Boss Fang was protecting her, so she was very touched. However, Li Yifei soberly analyzed that Fang Yun only did that to protect hexing's reputation. Dang Yu took the initiative to face Jun Cheng's mom. Seeing that she kept saying she wasn't good enough for her son, she bluntly told her that she should go home and say those words to Jun Cheng instead. Friends introduced Li Yifei to a girl named Jin Zi. Even though she was crazy about him, Li Yifei was indifferent without any feelings, instead only keeping his mind on Qianfei's situation. Qianfei once shared that she really liked a comedian named Ji. This guy's story of making it was very inspiring, and now he's an internet sensation, so tickets to see him perform are always sold out. Knowing Li Yifei was hunting for a Ji tickets, Jin Zi immediately managed to get two. Li Yifei thanked Jin Zi and brought the tickets home to Qianfei, making her scream with joy. After work, Qianfei still had to stay at the office for overtime. Li Yifei came to ask her to go home and cook for him, but Qianfei was annoyed and snapped, saying she wasn't in the mood and wouldn't cook anything today. Seeing that, Li Yifei pulled out the ticket to a Ji's live comedy show and waved it in front of her. As soon as she saw the ticket, Qianfei was thrilled, excitedly hugging him and jumping for joy. Being hugged suddenly by Qianfei, Li Yifei's heart raced, but she didn't realize it at all, only happily promising to go home and cook a lot of the sautéed eggplant he liked. When they got home, Li Yifei only gave her one ticket, saying that he also really liked a Ji. Qianfei had no choice but to agree to go see it with him. Meanwhile, Liao Jinshan was listening to his secretary's report. Wang Ruohai's video was still a storm online, seriously affecting the Sanlifang hotel and involving 9 other hotels. Netizens were very angry, and it looked like it wouldn't be easy to shut it down right away. Qianfei got dressed to the nines preparing to see the comedy show. Seeing that, Li Yifei teased her, saying the performer was way up on stage while she was way down in the audience, so why dress up when no one would see her? At the same time, Liao Xiyu led Wang Ruohai home to visit Liao Jinshan. Discussing the hotel's PR crisis, Wang Ruohai confidently presented a solution. He thought netizens were just using the excuse to vent their anger, so if they stayed silent and didn't respond, everything would slowly sink and fade away. Liao Xiyu looked at Wang Ruohai with deep admiration and missed her. Liao Jinshan was also satisfied that his daughter had found a happy landing place. At the theater, Fei was completely captivated by Ji's special comedy performance, interacting happily with the actor on stage. On the other hand, Li Yifei's mind was miles away. He secretly shifted his finger, intending to touch Fei's hand, but every time he was about to touch her, she would suddenly clap her hands loudly, making him miss a shot over and over again. As for Lu Zhe, after closing his company, he went to find Xing to sincerely apologize. He admitted that before, he was so obsessed with work that he neglected their relationship, but now that the shop was closed, he just wanted to spend all his time with her. Lu Zhe took out the ring and once again got down on one knee to propose to Xing. But Xing's mood right now was very confused. She not only didn't agree right away, but also bluntly said that she didn't want to marry him, and after saying that, she turned her back and walked away, leaving Lu Zhe standing alone and stunned in the street. Shifting to Juncheng, to get close to Dang Yu, he joined the club as a wellness dance coach. Meanwhile, Dang Yu, the girl from Yunnan, was extremely good at hip-hop. Having just shown off a dance as smooth as silk, she immediately made the kids go wild with excitement. When it came to registration, parents flocked to sign their kids up for her class. In contrast, Juncheng's mom's class was quite empty. Even though she tried her best to invite people, the elderly people wanted to learn but had to prioritize babysitting their grandkids, so they couldn't handle both and had to sadly sacrifice their personal interests. Seeing this, Dang Yu immediately came up with a plan to combine the hobbies of both the grandparents and the grandkids to learn at the same time, making it a win-win for everyone. On the way back, the two of them caught the same bus. Dang Yu insisted on taking Mama June all the way home. On the bus, she thanked Dang Yu for what happened earlier, but her way of talking still accidentally showed the smugness of a native Shanghainese person. However, since she was officially dating Juncheng, Dang Yu didn't really mind her attitude. While working overtime at the company, Wang Ruahai got a call from his dad saying his mom had to be hospitalized because she found out he and Fei had broken up. He said he would head back to his hometown right away tomorrow. That evening, Li Yifei finished a phone call, got dressed up, and went out, making Fei think he was going on a date with a girlfriend. At the same time, Wang Ruahai called to blame Fei, saying she shouldn't have called his mother and that his family didn't need her fake concern. Fei was furious, and just as she was about to snap back, she heard Wang Ruahai shout Li Yifei on the other end. Then the call got completely disconnected. It turned out Li Yifei personally went to find Wang Ruahai and, without saying a word, lunged in and beat him up badly. He had found out that Wang Ruahai was the one who edited and spread those videos. Before leaving, Li Yifei warned him that if he dared to hurt Fei again, he would absolutely not let him off. When Li Yifei got home and she saw the injuries on his face, Fei hurried to help him disinfect and bandage them. Knowing he stepped up to protect her, she felt extremely grateful. While applying the medicine, the two were so close to each other that the atmosphere in the room suddenly became very sketchy. They had originally planned to ring in the new year together, but after getting a moody call from Xing, Fei didn't hesitate to stand Li Yifei up. Running to find Xing and seeing her best friend looking like she lost her soul, Fei felt terrible for her. Choking up, Xing opened up and said she felt so tired, which was why she rejected Lu Zhe. Fei brushed it off, telling her not to say anything yet, as the year was ending and it was almost the new year, so she should just come home with her first. Xing nodded and obediently followed. Back at home, Fei let her friend rest in the room while she rolled up her sleeves to cook in the kitchen. While she was at it, she knocked on the door to look for Li Yifei but found he wasn't home, muttering to herself that the guy really couldn't stand being lonely at all. Very quickly, Fei finished cooking a lavish table of food and woke Xing up for the New Year's Eve dinner. The two sisters raised their glasses to drink, and Xing used the alcohol to drown her sorrows, eating while constantly complaining about Lu Zhe. Seeing that Lu Zhe's name came up in every sentence, Fei exposed the fact that Xing hadn't actually let him go at all. Before, she complained about him being busy with his career, but now that he was ready to close his company just to be with her, she still rejected him. She was really just being difficult. Xing didn't really know what she wanted in her heart either, so she just kept drinking and got wasted in no time. With the alcohol kicking in, the two girls went to sing karaoke, and while they were at it, they drank a bunch more beer. As for Li Yifei, because he was stood up by Fei, he also invited a large group of friends to this exact karaoke bar to drink and celebrate New Year's Eve. Lu Zhe called Xing, and hearing the loud noise, he guessed she was out, so he drove there in a hurry because he was worried. By this time, Xing was so dizzy that her head was spinning and she couldn't stand straight. Fei had to help her friend stumble out of the bar to go home, but both were wasted and wobbling as they walked. Seeing this, two thugs walked over and started hitting on them, even trying to get physical. Fei and Xing shouted at them, but they were so weak, they didn't have any strength to push their hands away. Just then, Li Yifei heard the noise and came out to check. Seeing the thugs teasing Fei's group, he flew into a rage and immediately jumped in to help. Coincidentally, Lu Zhe had also just driven up, and the two men teamed up to teach the thugs a lesson. Those guys still hadn't learned their lesson and grumbled, threatening to call people to handle them. Seeing this, Li Yifei just made one phone call, and immediately his huge group of friends rushed out of the room. The thugs got scared and ran as fast as they could. After chasing off the bad guys, Li Yifei and Lu Zhe helped the two girls into a room to drink tea and sober up. Then, Li Yifei went back to the karaoke room to say goodbye to his friends. Everyone grumbled and looked annoyed because he was the one who invited them, and they had all canceled their own dates to hang out with him, yet now he was blatantly choosing a girl over his friends. Meanwhile, afraid his mom would object, Junqing used the excuse of celebrating New Year's Eve with Li Yifei and the gang, but he was actually sneaking out to play games and celebrate the new year with Dang Yu. Just as they beat the game, Junqing was so happy he couldn't help but hug Dang Yu to celebrate, and she didn't pull away. At home, Mama June was playing some videos of Dang Yu dancing for her husband, and she remarked that the girl was actually very good. Seeing this, Papa June quickly texted his son to report the situation, saying Mom had changed her attitude, so he should feel safe to keep chasing Dang Yu. Reading the message, Junqing was thrilled. Back on this side, not feeling safe letting Xing Xing go home alone, Lu Zhe escorted her all the way to Qianfei's house. Initially, they planned to let Lu Zhe sleep on the sofa, but unexpectedly Xing Xing insisted on pulling him into the room, saying she had questions to ask. In the living room, Li Yifei and Qianfei sat on the sofa looking at each other. He teased her that she had no place to sleep tonight. Qianfei brushed it off, thinking that wouldn't happen because Xing Xing was just crying her eyes out and acting like she hated Lu Zhe to the bone. But in the end, Li Yifei's guess was spot on. Qianfei sadly curled up and slept on the sofa all night. The next morning, when Qianfei had finished breakfast and was sitting down to eat with Li Yifei, Xing Xing and Lu Zhe finally woke up looking embarrassed. It seemed like this rocky couple had finally made up, and they were as sweet as when they first started dating. In the morning, Qianfei cooked many delicious dishes, and all four of them enjoyed a very good meal. After eating, Li Yifei stood up, and before heading out the door, he didn't forget to tell Qianfei to clean his room for him. Seeing this, Xing Xing and Lu Zhe thought the relationship between the two was definitely not simple. Qianfei laughed and replied that Li Yifei was naturally flaky and unreliable like that. Lu Zhe then mentioned that Li Yifei looked a lot like Li Tianxing, the chairman of Tianxing Group, and wasn't sure what their relationship was. Qianfei told him not to think too much about it. After teaching dance to the children, Dang Yu was proactively called over by Junqing's mother for a talk. She expressed that she understood young people well and didn't want to interfere in their business anymore. However, Dang Yu bluntly said that although being with Junqing was fun, she couldn't stand her strict rules. Therefore, from now on, she and Junqing would only be regular friends. After saying that, she rushed straight out the door. Qianfei received a phone call from her father, who introduced her to the son of an old boss who was also working in Shanghai. Qian's father had given her phone number to the guy's family and urged her to buy some gifts to meet and get to know him. Qianfei listened without understanding a thing until she checked the message with the person's info sent by her father. Only then did she realize her father was setting her up on a blind date. Wang Ruohai's mother was brought to Shanghai to be hospitalized for surgery, and everything was arranged by Liao Xiyu. Wang Ruohai called to thank her and also asked if she could spare some time to visit his mother at the hospital. Liao Xiyu said she had been very busy lately and really had no time, so Wang Ruohai had to let it go. Ever since he met Dang Yu, Junqing's mood had been very bright. His mother was constantly anxious and kept urging her son to go out on a date quickly. Junqing was thrilled inside and hurriedly packed his things to go out. But when he met Dang Yu, she told him about the conversation with his mother and once again confirmed her decision. Hearing Dang Yu say she only wanted to be regular friends, Junqing frantically advised her not to pay attention to his mother's words, but Dang Yu still firmly walked away. Junqing was extremely angry and went straight home to argue with his mother. Mama June was afraid her son would come back to hold her accountable, so she locked the door from the inside and wouldn't let him in. Junqing kept calling for his mother to open the door from outside but was still refused, so he left in a huff. Qianfei was about to take a professional exam, and Li Yifei used all his expert skills to give her comprehensive tutoring on the condition that Qianfei had to cook tea-soaked eggs for him. After that, Li Yifei both directly guided and supervised her while she studied. That day, the blind date guy introduced by Qian's father proactively contacted and asked to meet her. Qianfei purposely put on makeup and dressed up before going to work, which surprised Li Yifei greatly. Usually, this girl went with a bare, simple face, but today she was beautiful and charming like this. There was definitely something sketchy going on. When he found out Qianfei was going on a blind date, Li Yifei jumped in surprise and insisted on following her to approve the guy for his student. Arriving at the place, Li Yifei sat at the next table chatting with a chubby lady. He lied and claimed to be a weight loss coach, making the lady curl her lip in disdain. Meanwhile, the man on the date with Qianfei was rambling on about his calculations. He had a Shanghai residency but no house, while Qianfei had a house, so the two sides could offset each other. He even suggested that the two of them should live together first, saying they would only know if they were compatible by living together. Qianfei found it annoying to listen to, so she grabbed her bag to leave but was blocked by him. Li Yifei was already fuming sitting next to them hearing that guy's words, and when he saw him get handsy with Qianfei, he couldn't take it anymore and punched him right in the face. After that, he took Qianfei home, and she thanked him for being her knight in shining armor. When they got back, Jean Zi was blocking their path. Qianfei recognized her as the hot girl who had photos with Li Yifei, so she said hi and went inside first. Jean Zi also recognized Qianfei as the drunk girl from the karaoke bar the other night and questioned Li Yifei about their relationship. Li Yifei was annoyed that Jean Zi posted their photos online without asking. Jean Z saw that the relationship between him and Qian Fei was not normal, so she declared that while it was his right to like whoever he wanted, she wouldn't stop chasing him so easily. Back in the room, Qian Fei asked why he broke up with his girlfriend so fast. Li Yifei quickly denied it, saying he didn't have a girlfriend and they were just friends. Seeing Qian Fei was clearly salty and jealous, Li Yifei was on cloud 9. Qian Fei tried to hide her feelings, slipped back to her room, and complained to the teddy bear that looked just like Li Yifei. Meanwhile, Li Yifei was grinning in his room, trying to guess if she really was jealous. While Qian Fei was cleaning, her dad called. She put it on speaker and heard him talk about the feedback from the matchmaker about that guy named Yuan Feng. Her dad was also very angry about how shameless the guy was, but he was more curious about the young man with Qian Fei that day. Qian Fei quickly explained he was just a tenant and a co-worker, but her dad trusted his gut and told her not to let him go if the guy was decent. Li Yifei overheard and jumped into the sweet boyfriend role, running over to show care in a very sweet way. Her dad on the other end was now sure his daughter had a boyfriend. Qian Fei was speechless and couldn't explain, so she just hung up in a hurry. Li Yifei teased her to be grateful to him, but she called him delusional. Ruahai's mom's surgery was a success. She asked why he broke up with Qian Fei and told him to go apologize and chase her again, because Qian Fei is a rare gem who was truly sincere to him. Wang Ruahai made excuses that they weren't a good fit, and since he was the one who broke up, she wouldn't come back. His mother was very disappointed. Seeing his mom's sad face, Wang Ruahai called Qian Fei, hoping she could spare some time to visit her. Qian Fei agreed right away. Li Yifei wasn't happy about it, but she explained that Ruahai's mom used to care for her a lot, so visiting was just out of respect for an elder. Qian Fei wanted to save some money to pay Wang Ruahai back part of the house money, but her senior, Yuan Qin, whom she used to help, blocked her. Li Yifei had to go investigate Yuan Qin's situation. In another scene, Jun Cheng waited for Dang Yu to finish work to pour his heart out. He admitted he was a mama's boy before and was arrogant because of his native Shanghai roots and good job. But since meeting her, that ego was gone. Even though he liked her a lot now, he would respect her choice. If Dang Yu changed her mind, he would always be there waiting. After saying those words, Jun Cheng left feeling light, and Dang Yu was very surprised by his change. Qian Fei visited Ruahai's mom. The mother begged her over and over to give her son another chance, but Qian Fei firmly refused, stating they couldn't go back to how things were. Wang Ruahai thanked Qian Fei and apologized for the video he posted before. Qian Fei didn't accept the apology at all, saying she would pay him back soon and would never forgive him for the trouble he caused. Liao Xiu visited Ruahai's mom, and seeing Qian Fei leaving, she got furious and questioned why he hadn't told his mom about their relationship. Wang Ruahai made excuses, saying she was too busy and he wasn't sure she could come. Hearing the attitude in his voice, Liao Xiu kicked him out of the car without mercy. San Lefang was exposed online again. Liao Xiu called an emergency meeting at night to find a solution. Qian Fei gave her opinion, but Liao Xiu immediately kicked her out of the meeting and removed her from the project team. Qian Fei had to leave. Fang Yin followed her to explain, saying she would try to find a way to keep her. Qian Fei showed she understood, and then turned around to pack her things. Fang Yun chased after Qian Fei to explain that Liao Xiu had gone over her head and went straight to Boss Kong. She said she was out of options herself, but she promised to find a chance to get Qian Fei back to work. Qian Fei thanked Fang Yun, and then went back to her seat to pack her things. She used a USB drive to copy the data from the computer and happened to see Li Yifei's speech at the annual conference for the Flacida Agricultural Project. As long as we run toward hope, one day hope will surely arrive. After Qian Fei left, Liao Xiu continued to lead the meeting to discuss how to handle San Lefang's PR crisis. Fang Yun suggested hosting a charity gala night and using the donations to create a new hot topic, thereby distracting the public. Liao Xiu basically agreed and asked Li Yifei's team to keep working on the details. Li Yifei got home and saw Qian Fei lying flat on the sofa with her clothes still on. Thinking she had given up, he walked over and chewed her out, saying she was only temporarily suspended and not fired, so had this little setback already defeated her? If so, all his hard work coaching her lately was a total waste. Qian Fei complained bitterly, saying she always gave her best for San Lefang, but Liao Xiu just didn't like her and was picking on her on purpose. Li Yifei told her to stop moping, as Liao Xiu couldn't just do whatever he wanted forever. Qian Fei told him to hold his horses, then showed him the plan she stayed up all night to make. After reading it, Li Yifei realized she had the same idea of organizing a charity gala. Qian Fei really lived up to being Fang Yun's subordinate. Even their way of solving problems was a case of great minds think alike. However, Qian Fei's plan was to force San Lefang to make a public apology right during the gala night. Qian Fei asked Li Yifei to fix the details of the plan and then take it to the meeting. Li Yifei really admired Qian Fei because even though the company treated her unfairly, she still worked hard to help them solve the problem. At the meeting, he presented the finished plan. Fang Yun immediately guessed that this was Qian Fei's work. Li Yifei spoke up once more to get justice for her, and Fang Yun nodded in agreement. When he got home, Li Yifei demanded that Qian Fei cook dinner, and she told him to go wash the vegetables. But when she found out Li Yifei had changed the plan on his own and cut out the public apology part, Qian Fei flew into a rage, thinking this was a total lack of principle. Li Yifei also raised his voice and told her to stop dreaming, saying clients would never just do everything a securities company says, and if he added the apology, there was no way Liao Shi would go for it. Qianfei ignored him, immediately changed her clothes, grabbed her backpack, and walked out, leaving Li Yifei standing there stunned. Qianfei went to eat with Dang Yu. Dang Yu was quite surprised to see that Qianfei wasn't panicked at all about being suspended. Qianfei confidently declared that one day Sam Lefang would have to humble themselves and invite her back. Dang Yu was feeling down because her family was pushing her to bring a boyfriend home to meet them this Lunar New Year. Qianfei suggested that she ask Jun Cheng to play the part. In another scene, Li Yifei was muttering to himself while eating instant noodles at home. Jun Cheng came over and couldn't help but complain. The person he likes doesn't like him back, and even though they are together every day, he doesn't dare to confess. Li Yifei said he just didn't want to take advantage of a bad situation. Lu Zhe went to a job interview, but the recruiter refused to hire people who had failed at starting a business, so he sadly left. Xing was preparing the bidding documents for Sam Lefang's charity gala night. She was really worried because she was afraid she had offended Liao Shi before. Lu Zhe encouraged her, saying that with her professional skills, she would definitely stand out and win. Meanwhile, an investor had their eyes on the Flacida project and was getting ready to spend a large amount of money to buy it. Li Yifei thought this wasn't simple at all. Why would capitalists invest in a growing startup that hasn't shown clear profits or prospects yet? Because of this, he and Ma Li had a heated argument. But thanks to that, he also learned a lesson and decided to hire more suitable people for the company. Xing came home exhausted and found Lu Zhe cooking. She bragged to him that she had beaten all the competitors and won the bid for Sam Lefang's charity gala project. Lu Zhe was very happy for her. Xing also truly cherished the moments Lu Zhe personally went into the kitchen to make a meal for her, feeling that those days were very peaceful. Lu Zhe joked that in the future he would be a house husband and focus on living off his wife. Xing played along, promising to let him live off her in the happiest way. Lu Zhe told Xing to wait in the living room for a bit as the food was almost ready. However, when he put the food on the table, he found she had already fallen asleep on the sofa. Qianfei was moping because she couldn't get a bus ticket home, so Li Yifei kept hanging around her with his phone. It turned out he had managed to buy a plane ticket for her. Qianfei lunged to grab it, but Li Yifei dodged and made her praise him first before he would give it to her. Qianfei racked her brain to come up with all sorts of sweet talk, but Li Yifei still wasn't satisfied and pretended to cancel the ticket. Qianfei panicked and lunged to grab it back, and the two accidentally fell on top of each other. Li Yifei's heart was pounding, but Qianfei didn't notice a thing. Later, during a gathering at a bar, a friend named Hao Zi asked Li Yifei to introduce his landlord so he could get to know her, since he was the one who worked hard to hunt for the plane ticket and wanted to be friends. Li Yifei grabbed his collar and said jokingly as if he were angry, "How dare you dream about my person?" The Sam Lefang charity gala night went exactly as planned, and Xing and her team prepared everything perfectly down to the smallest detail. When the party started, elites and business tycoons entered the hall one by one. Li Tianxing also showed up, but he actually just wanted to see his son Li Yifei. Qianfei, in a waitress uniform, and after being carefully instructed by Xing, started to take action. Wang Ruohai attended as Liao Shi's future son-in-law, but the gossip around him was too much to handle, so he hid in a corner to drink and drown his sorrows. Liao Shi found him to question him, and Qianfei followed closely behind. Ignoring Liao Shi's annoyed attitude, Qianfei frankly presented her point of view. She made it clear that rivals were targeting Sam Lefang, and if they didn't face it bravely this time, there would surely be a second or third time. Therefore, Qianfei suggested the company face the truth and publicly apologize for the wrongdoings to solve the root of the problem. Placing the USB containing the video and the apology draft on the table, Qianfei left. Liao Shi was very dissatisfied with Wang Ruohai, blaming him for not contributing any decent ideas while the company was going through such a big deal. Wang Ruohai didn't back down either, replying that he was just a nobody with no voice, and he didn't want to hear people talking behind his back anymore. The two split up in frustration. Liao Shiyu didn't think twice and strode onto the stage. After her opening speech, she showed the video and bowed to the camera to apologize for the issues, showing her determination to fix the company right away. Liao Shiyu's speech got a warm welcome from everyone, with non-stop applause. A crisis vanished just like that thanks to Qianfei's persistence. After the plan succeeded, Qianfei felt great. She drove a tipsy Li Yifei home, singing happily on the way. Li Yifei was also very happy for her. Plus, he had secretly told Zhao to play that video on the screen. Once things passed, Wang Ruohai took the initiative to break up with Liao Shiyu. He had thought about it carefully, and what he needed was a love that shared the ups and downs. Compared to always acting submissive and serving Liao Shiyu, he realized he had done too little for Qianfei. After hearing this, Liao Shiyu was speechless and watched as Wang Ruohai turned and walked away. Back home, seeing Li Yifei take out his laptop, Qianfei finally understood. Turns out at the critical moment, it was Li Yifei who helped her play the video on the big screen, forcing Liao Shiyu to apologize publicly. At first, she thought Wang Ruohai did it because she had left the USB with him. Li Yifei faked being furious, overreacting, and saying he put in so much work, but Qianfei gave the credit to Wang Ruohai, which was so hurtful. Qianfei then asked when he knew her plan, was he eavesdropping on her phone? Li Yifei replied that since he saw her ask Xing Xing to bid on the charity event and bring home a server uniform, he knew she wanted to go all in. Even though he knew it was a risky move, to be 100% sure, he arranged for tech support from tech expert Zhao. Yet, Qianfei didn't think of him at all. Li Yifei pouted, acting very unhappy, and then stormed into his room and slammed the door. Outside, Qianfei laughed but was full of gratitude for him. The next day at work, Qianfei successfully returned to the underwriting team. Li Yifei reminded her to have a next plan, or Fang Yun would still give her a hard time. Qianfei confidently asked back, "How do you know I don't have a backup plan?" As expected, before the meeting, Fang Yun purposely asked if she was ready. Qianfei confidently said she was ready. In the meeting, she clearly presented every step of the next plan that she had carefully calculated. At this point, Liao Xiyu really admired Qianfei and stared at her without blinking. Li Yifei kept looking at her with pride and encouragement, and he was the first one to clap when she finished. Finally, Liao Xiyu closed the meeting, assigning everyone to work according to Qianfei's plan. After the meeting, Fang Yun pulled her aside to talk privately, asking whose influence made her progress so fast lately. Qianfei tactfully said it was thanks to Boss Fang. Fang Yun laughed and said she was just good at sucking up, but she actually knew the real answer. Qianfei knew very well that getting to where she was today was thanks to Li Yifei's mentoring and strict supervision. Remembering his strict demands and every bit of care, she felt even more grateful. She went to find Li Yifei, thanked him sincerely, and offered to cook her signature dishes for him. Knowing the breakup, Liao Jinshan was afraid his daughter might do something drastic. Liao Xiyu comforted her dad, saying that even though Wang Ruohai helped her, Samifang didn't need him anymore, and her future didn't need him either. When Lunar New Year came, Qianfei prepared to go home to see her parents. Before that, not wanting her dad to worry, Li Yifei once volunteered to fake being her boyfriend over the phone. This time when she went home, Li Yifei took the initiative to drive her to the airport and even thoughtfully sent wine for her dad. Jun Cheng's department was preparing to hold a dance contest that combined hip-hop and square dancing. For this event, Dang Yu and Mama Jun teamed up again to lead the group. Mama Jun's attitude toward Dang Yu was mixed. She liked her drive and positive energy, but looked down on her for not being a native Shanghainese. Dang Yu needing to bring a fake boyfriend home was a golden opportunity Jun Cheng couldn't miss. He lied to his parents that he was going to Yunnan for the new year to film footage for the upcoming dance contest. Mama Jun supported it immediately since it helped his job. When Jun Cheng went home with Dang Yu, Dang's sister was very sharp-tongued and annoyed with both of them. But with his sincerity, Jun Cheng gradually won over her family. At the same time, Jean Zi was walking near Li Yifei's place when she suddenly got a stomachache. She called him for help, so he took her to his house. Li Yifei invited Jean Zi inside. She probed about his relationship with the landlord, but he brushed it off. Seeing her cry about her stomach and crave porridge, he clumsily went to the kitchen to try and cook, accidentally breaking dishes. Once she finished eating, Li Yifei urged Jean Zi to leave. Today is New Year's Eve, and Li Yifei calls to wish Qianfei a happy new year while chatting happily with her dad. Jean Zi feels a bit hurt seeing this. She proactively moves closer to Li Yifei and frankly confesses her love. However, Li Yifei turns her down without a second thought, saying he cannot return her feelings. Jean Zi asks sadly if it is, because she is not good enough. Li Yifei quickly explains that she is excellent. It is just that he already has someone he loves in his heart. Jean Zi vaguely realizes that Li Yifei has fallen very deeply for Qianfei. Even though she is very sad about being rejected, she still encourages him to be brave and chase the person he loves. As for Qian's father, he also sharply notices that his daughter and Li Yifei are not actually a couple yet. He advises Qianfei to cherish this young man because anyone can see that he really cares about her. Hearing her dad say this, Qianfei looks very thoughtful. After the holiday, Jun Cheng and Dang Yu return to Shanghai together. Dang Yu thanks him and sadly shares her feelings about her stifling family atmosphere. Jun Cheng then lets her listen to a recording of a conversation between him and her mother, where every single word is filled with love and worry for her daughter. After hearing it, Dang Yu bursts into tears from the emotion. Today is Valentine's Day, February 14th, and Li Yifei cannot hold back how much he misses Qianfei, so he calls to confirm the day she returns to Shanghai. Qianfei jokingly asks if he fought with his girlfriend, and that is why he missed her. Li Yifei crossly snaps that he does not have a girlfriend. Passing by a flower shop on the side of the road, following the shop owner's suggestion, he buys a pot of daisies, a flower that symbolizes a love cherished secretly in the heart, without being flashy or loud. Right at this moment, Molly calls to report that the Flacida project is having trouble, the capital chain is at risk of breaking, and they urgently need an investment. Li Yifei immediately goes to the airport and flies straight to Sanya. Li Tianqing is sitting and enjoying the breeze at his beachfront villa when he sees Li Yifei walking up with some apples. He understands perfectly that this son of his never bothers with his dad when they are in the same city, so traveling all the way here must mean he has a favor to ask. Sure enough, Li Yifei gets straight to the point. He needs 20 million yuan. Li Tianqing reminds him that money disappearing like that is because someone is playing tricks behind his back, and only Li Yifei would dare to open his mouth to ask him for tens of millions like that. Returning to Shanghai, the first person Li Yifei finds is Lu Zhe. He offers to collaborate and invest in developing Lu Zhe's phone software system to apply it to agricultural farming. The goal is to help all agricultural products be traceable, making the entire production process from A to Z transparent, so consumers can feel safe using them. Lu Zhe also correctly guesses the father-son relationship between Li Yifei and Li Tianxing. He advises Li Yifei to tell the truth about his rich heir identity to Qianfei. Li Yifei brushes it off, saying Qianfei is just a landlord, and there is no need to tell her. Lu Zhe clicks his tongue, saying the feelings he has for Qianfei are as clear as day and anyone can see it. Li Yifei quickly cuts him off, forbidding him from making random comments about his big boss investor. Thanks to Li Yifei's investment money, Lu Zhe's company is saved. He brings this good news to Xing Xing, making her happy for him too. As for Li Yifei, he goes to pick up Qianfei to return to Shanghai and even makes porridge for her himself. Noticing that the dishes in the house have been changed, Qianfei asks about it, so he makes an excuse that it is the new year, so he got new things. However, Qianfei's sharp eyes notice that someone has clearly been to the house, and moreover, she catches a long strand of hair. Returning to work after the New Year break, Li Yifei picked up Qianfei and went into the kitchen to cook for her himself. But because he was clumsy, he fumbled and burned his own hand. Qianfei quickly grabbed the first aid kit to bandage him, but then she found a long woman's hair on the sofa. She immediately grilled Li Yifei, asking if it was his girlfriend Jean Zi's hair. Li Yifei quickly denied that Jean Zi was his girlfriend, and then stuttered to explain why she came over that night. Qianfei didn't believe a word of it, angrily slammed the door shut, and ignored him. Li Yifei thought she was being jealous, so he played the pity card, screaming out that the wound hurt too much. Only then did Qianfei come out to continue disinfecting his wound, still grumbling and blaming Li Yifei for lying. Li Yifei was caught in a tough spot and didn't know how to explain the whole story. On the first day back at work, Qianfei arrived at her seat looking very bright. Everyone saw that Sanlifang had a new CFO, Boss Wu, and Qianfei found out that Wang Ruohai and Liao Xiu had broken up and left. Fang Yun was taken away by Sanlifang people. Before leaving, she told everyone that since she had to help Sanlifang investigate some matters, they should temporarily follow the work orders from Boss Li at Jizhong Construction. Qianfei didn't know what was happening and ran to find Li Yifei, only to run into Gui Lele looking for him. Since getting married, Gui Lele's life hasn't been very smooth. She begged Li Yifei to help her run a project, but he flat out refused her. It turned out that Fang Yun being investigated was because of the Sanlifang video leak a while ago, which secretly implied that Fang Yun was the inside person who leaked the news. Qianfei was shocked to hear this. Soon after, Fang Yun returned to the office. Rumors said the inside person was someone else, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. However, Boss Wu from Sanlifang led a group straight to Qianfei, saying bluntly that someone reported Qianfei for giving the video to hot bloggers online to spread it. Qianfei was startled and quickly explained it wasn't her. Unfortunately, her Weibo account wouldn't log in, and her phone suddenly shut down. Boss Wu didn't say a word, ordered someone to seize her computer, and kicked her out of Sanlifang immediately. Back home, Li Yifei saw that Qianfei had downed quite a few beers. Seeing him home, she insisted on him drinking with her. Li Yifei felt terrible for her and advised her not to destroy herself like this, because if she didn't clear her name, she wouldn't be able to stay in the investment banking industry anymore. He advised her to go find Fang Yun, because that person was very suspicious. Normally, when Qianfei was in trouble, Fang Yun should have been the first one to step up and protect her. Actually, Qianfei had already vaguely guessed that Fang Yun was using her as a scapegoat. She was completely disappointed in this industry and didn't want to be a victim of tricks and backstabbing anymore. Seeing that Qianfei was dead drunk, Li Yifei had to carry her into the bedroom. Qianfei wrapped her arms tight around his neck and wouldn't let go, making Li Yifei unable to hold back, so he leaned down and kissed her. After it was done, Li Yifei felt extremely regretful. Even though he really liked her, doing that right now was just like taking advantage of a bad situation. The next day, Dang Yu was eating while walking and happened to call Qianfei. She advised Qianfei not to keep hiding, just go to the office, and if anyone dared to gossip, just clap back at them. Qianfei sobered up and thought last night was just a dream, so she casually told Dang Yu, saying that in the dream, she was kissed by a super handsome guy. Stepping out of the room, Qianfei was startled to see Li Yifei holding a bowl of porridge, standing right there outside the door. He had overheard the entire conversation between the two. Qianfei immediately threatened him to act like he hadn't heard a thing. At the company parking lot, Qianfei blocked Fang Yun's path when she arrived for work and said they needed to clear things up. Qianfei questioned Fang Yun why she leaked the video and then framed her for it. Fang Yun didn't explain much. Instead, she acted superior and lectured her. This industry isn't always black and white. The reason she liked Qianfei at first was because she saw her younger self in her, but after so many years in the business, that fire she had at the beginning had already faded away. Fang Yun told Qianfei that she wasn't just taking the fall for her, but taking the blame for the whole company. She thought what Qianfei needed to think about right now wasn't the event itself, but to ask why she was the one being used as a pawn. Qianfei was very calm. She told Fang Yun that she didn't come to accuse her, but to tell her that, before, Fang Yun was her lighthouse, her ideal role model at work, but now that dream is crushed. Even though Fang Yun said this world isn't black and white, Qianfei believed that in everyone's heart, there is a measure of right and wrong. Through the joint evaluation of the underwriting team, they believe that San Lefang is currently not qualified to go public, and the next step should be to reorganize business operations. Liao Shiyu was extremely resentful, criticizing hexing employees for leaking the video, so even if they fired the employee involved, which was Qian Fei, they still had to take responsibility. Fang Yun snapped back, mocking that if San Lefang was doing good business, why would such problems happen? And business failures cannot be blamed on a third party. If San Lefang doesn't accept the underwriting team's opinion, they can keep trying to go public, but at the very least, they will face a much tougher audit from the Securities Commission. Seeing both sides arguing heatedly, Li Yifei stepped in to give his personal opinion. He believed the most urgent task for San Lefang right now is to standardize their business operations. After the meeting, Liao Shiyu kept Li Yifei back, and he also kindly reminded her that she should focus on investigating why problems arose at such a sensitive time. The district dance competition began, and all the teams were giving it their all. But right before getting ready to go on stage, Dang Yu suddenly had terrible stomach cramps, and then ran to the bathroom to throw up like crazy. Jun Cheng's mom thought Jun Cheng got Dang Yu pregnant, so she got mad and chased him around for a real beating. Jun Cheng had to swear over and over that it wasn't him. Dang Yu herself felt it was probably because she ate while walking earlier and swallowed some cold air. The competition began, and Dang Yu fought through the pain to get on stage. Jun Cheng's mom also performed with her. She was very worried about Dang Yu, and during the final move, she caught Dang Yu just in time as she couldn't hold on any longer. The competition ended smoothly. Dang Yu was very thankful to Jun Cheng's mom. Then she fainted from exhaustion and was rushed to the hospital by Jun Cheng. As for Qian Fei, she didn't let it break her and bought a brand new computer, getting ready to start over with a new job and a new life. Today was her birthday, but it was too bad her two best friends Xing Xing and Dang Yu were so busy they couldn't come celebrate. Meanwhile, Fang Yun kept remembering what Qian Fei said, feeling restless and uneasy. She made a phone call to ask if she could cash out early now that San Lefang's IPO was temporarily postponed. Qian Fei got home, and Li Yifei had prepared a lavish spread of food, though it was all takeout he had ordered. Li Yifei brought out a cake and told Qian Fei to make a wish, and then the two of them drank wine together. Qian Fei suddenly remembered the scene from that night when she was drunk and Li Yifei forced a kiss on her. Li Yifei was flustered and didn't know how to explain it. Qian Fei couldn't let this go. She locked herself in her room and sobbed, thinking Li Yifei didn't respect her. Li Yifei was also confused about how to face Qian Fei, feeling anxious and unable to sit still. Right then, Molly called Li Yifei, reporting that the farmers in the project area were insisting on kicking them out, telling him to hurry there to put out the fire. Li Yifei had to fly there that very night. In the morning, Qian Fei woke up and didn't see Li Yifei anywhere, so she thought he was avoiding her. As for Li Yifei, he rushed to the scene and saw that the villagers had already surrounded Ma Li and Lu Zhe, who had arrived first. He hurried forward to explain to everyone, and by clearly showing how live streaming works along with his sincere attitude, he finally managed to convince the villagers. Ma Li didn't understand why Li Yifei, an elite in the investment banking world, and the crown prince of Tiansheng Group would have his eyes on such a tiny agricultural project, even willing to sell his house to bet everything on it. Li Yifei explained that currently, the state has many policies supporting agricultural projects. The national strategy and the macro plan for rural revitalization have opened up a huge space for growth in the sector, which is like a second reform and opening up. Years ago, his father struck it rich by catching the wave of the reform and opening up, so now he also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to give it a shot. More importantly, he saw Ma Li's execution ability and skills, plus Lu Zhe's technological support. Standing side by side with a group of like-minded people, even if the final result is unpredictable, the process of striving itself is worth a try. Meanwhile, Lu Zhe was showing the local farmers how to download the mobile app and get connected to the internet. Everything was going very smoothly and rhythmically. Seeing Li Yifei dazed like he lost his soul, Lu Zhe walked over to give him some advice. Through Xing Xing, he knew that Qian Fei was very worried because she had no idea Li Yifei had gone on a business trip. Li Yifei gloomily admitted that the situation between them was getting a bit complicated. Lu Zhe encouraged his friend, saying Yifei's current situation was a lot like his in the past, kind of confused and not knowing what to do. Actually, the most important thing right now is to listen to your feelings. As long as the feeling is right and the other person is the one you like, you can't run away from these feelings even if you try. Lu Zhe's words had a strong impact on Li Yifei. He walked around the base and didn't want to go back, his head filled with memories he shared with Qian Fei. Through a video, Qian Fei saw that Li Yifei was in Taoyuan village. Hearing that Xian Yu had brought his son Xian Ba to Shanghai, she immediately set up a meeting with them. Xian Yu was extremely grateful to Li Yifei because thanks to the expert he introduced for remote online treatment, little Xian Ba's condition had recovered very well, with almost no difference compared to other kids his age. Furthermore, Li Yifei had gathered all the land in the surrounding area to use as a test site for the high-tech agricultural project, giving a huge boost to the local economy. After hearing this, Qian Fei sighed and felt a bit behind, thinking that while she had only taken 10 steps, Li Yifei had already moved ahead 20 steps. As for Ma Lu, he discussed the fundraising issue with Li Yifei again. Li Yifei insisted on finding clean capital, making sure it wouldn't affect the core stock base of the Fulapida company. Right after that, Ma Lu called Tang Siki. As soon as he hung up, Tang Siki smugly told Fang Yun, who was sitting next to him, that they were almost finished successfully, and if they grabbed Philopodus smoothly, Fang Yun's money would be multiplied dozens of times. Fang Yun was more careful, thinking that they shouldn't be overconfident until the last minute, and it was better to be safe. In another scene, Lu Zhe told Xing Xing about Li Yifei's situation and also told her not to interfere, just let Qian Fei and Li Yifei handle their own issues. Qian Fei sent her CV everywhere but didn't receive any replies. Plus, Li Yifei being away on a business trip made her feel very bored, so she asked Xing Xing to go eat. Xing Xing analyzed things and pointed out that Qian Fei definitely liked Li Yifei. However, hearing Lu Zhe's advice, she didn't push the relationship further and only advised Qian Fei to let everything go with the flow. To chase Qian Fei again, Wang Ruohai put in the effort to organize a meal with teachers and college classmates. During the meal, he took care of Qian Fei meticulously in every detail. After that, he called her aside to say he wanted to get back together, but Qian Fei flatly refused and said that was not possible. Later, Qian Fei, Dang Yu, and Xing Xing donated money and items together for the kids at Xian Yu's place. On the way, they happened to meet Mama June. She warmly greeted Dang Yu, bragging that her team's performance that day won first prize. She praised Dang Yu's tough spirit for trying to perform, even though she was sick that day. Before leaving, she even invited Dang Yu to her house to eat wontons. Qian Fei continued to send out her CV for jobs. Being rejected all the time made her very depressed. But right after that, she received an interview notice from a newly established venture capital company, which she found strange because she hadn't applied there. Calling Xing Xing, she found out it was because Wang Ruohai kept bugging Xing Xing for her CV. Qian Fei didn't want to have anything to do with Wang Ruohai anymore, so she decided to just ignore it. Right then the doorbell rang. She opened it and saw a shipper delivering flowers. Reading the card inside, she realized the sender was Wang Ruohai. Qian Fei angrily called to scold him, demanding he stop harassing her like this. Wang Ruohai made excuses, saying he just wanted her to unblock his number from her blacklist. Dang Yu was live streaming a game. After beating the level, she stayed on to chat with fans. Mama June also joined the fan club, enthusiastically cheering for Dang Yu, and even called on everyone to send flowers, hearts, and likes to her. Jun Cheng and his friends were also watching the stream. Seeing the two of them interacting so vibrantly, his friends teased that their mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship was so harmonious. In the end, Mama June and Dang Yu even got lost in a discussion about dance experience right on the stream, hyping up the atmosphere and making the whole chat dance along. Meanwhile, seeing Ma Li's fundraising going too smoothly, Li Yifei did a secret investigation and found out that Tang Siki was the one behind it. He immediately flew back to Shanghai to handle it. Right after landing, he drove straight to Qian Fei's apartment complex, but only stood there looking up at her window from afar for a while before going to rent a hotel room to rest. For the past few days, Qian Fei had been constantly worrying about Li Yifei. Finally, unable to hold back, she texted him, but since he was swamped with work, he couldn't check it right away. Li Yifei met with Tang Siki and bluntly laid his cards on the table, saying he knew all the sketchy things the guy was doing behind his back. Even the incident of inciting the villagers to cause a ruckus was orchestrated by Tang Siki. His investment had impure motives from the start, so he was forced to withdraw his capital. But Tang Siki didn't give in. He threw down the contract signed with Ma Le, which had important terms they had secretly altered. Actually, Li Yifei did that mainly to force Tang Siki to lay his cards on the table. This proved that Tang Siki still had someone backing him, and there was definitely an insider who knew Li Yifei's work style very well colluding with him. Li Yifei drank too much and was helped back to the hotel by Ma Lu to sleep soundly. In the middle of the night, Qian Fei got a fever. She was so delirious that she called Li Yifei, but he didn't pick up. The next day, class president called to ask Qian Fei to be a bridesmaid. Wang Ruohai, who was nearby, heard Qian Fei's weak voice and rushed to her house, taking a fainting Qian Fei with a high fever to the emergency room. Afterward, Wang Ruohai specifically took time off work to care for her and said cheesily that Qian Fei had cared for him for 5 years, so from now on, let him care for her in return. It wasn't until much later that Li Yifei woke up. He hurried to text Qian Fei back, explaining he got too drunk last night. Qian Fei only replied very coldly, but Wang Ruohai could see through the disappointment buried in her heart. Following Xing Xing's advice, Qian Fei went to a new company for an interview. Her views and perspectives perfectly matched the company's philosophy, so she got the job smoothly. With Lu Zhe's encouragement, Li Yifei flew back to Shanghai and asked Qian Fei out for a meal. He was dressed in a very sharp suit and specifically ordered a bouquet of roses. Since they met in such a formal setting, both felt a bit awkward, and Li Yifei was even more fumbly, not knowing how to start the conversation. Finally, Qian Fei took the initiative to speak. She admitted that she missed Li Yifei a lot. He was the only thing on her mind, and she kept guessing what he was doing. Li Yifei was overjoyed and also expressed his feelings for Qian Fei, sincerely apologizing for the things he hadn't done well before. However, Qian Fei suddenly changed her tone. She declared she wouldn't accept him because he didn't give her a sense of security. Disappearing and appearing whenever he pleased, she really wasn't used to that. Right after the meeting, Li Yifei called a moving company and moved all his stuff out of Qian Fei's place. Qian Fei finished moving her things out of the shared apartment. Below the building, Li Yifei signed the shipping confirmation with the movers and quietly watched the truck carrying his belongings leave. After moving out, both of them looked toward the old apartment's balcony with deep regret and longing. While cleaning the balcony at her new place, Qianfei looked at the withered pot of daisies. She peeled off the tape on the flower pot and saw the handwriting that Li Yifei had left. The meaning of daisies: "You are the love I hide deep in my heart." Memories of the sweet times with him flooded back, making her very emotional. At the office, Li Yifei was facing a huge problem. The partner company accused him of losing an important guarantee contract related to Sanlifang Group's bond conversion project. The partner's lawyer had a personal grudge, so he purposely blamed Li Yifei, notarizing the entire communication history to frame him for taking bribes and intentionally losing the contract. Since Li Yifei had lost his phone before, and his work email account was also hacked and the backup data was wiped clean, he was completely stuck and had no evidence to prove his innocence. Qianfei learned about Li Yifei's difficult situation through a coworker. While working at her new company, seeing a female coworker backing up data from a phone to a computer, Qianfei suddenly got an important idea. She remembered that when they were living together, Li Yifei once backed up all his phone data onto her old laptop. However, she had donated that old laptop to XINU's welfare center in Taoyuan Creek. Qianfei immediately contacted XINU to confirm the computer was still there. Despite her best friend Xing Xing's protests and worries that she was still too attached to her ex, Qianfei decided to book a last-minute flight to find evidence to help Li Yifei. Qianfei drove through treacherous mountain roads to reach Taoyuan Creek. There, she was welcomed very warmly by XINU and the children. XINU expressed his deep gratitude because, thanks to the agricultural connection app she and Li Yifei helped build a year ago, the lives of the local people had improved significantly, and orders were fully booked until next year. XINU handed the old laptop back to Qianfei. After searching for a while, the two found Li Yifei's compressed phone backup file. Qianfei quickly sent this file to him via email. At the same time, she found a valuable detail. Her computer password was changed right at the time of the Sanlifang charity gala when Liao Shiyu was speaking on stage. This indirectly pointed out that the person who secretly changed the password to delete the data was Assistant Zhao Da. After receiving the email from Qianfei, Li Yifei immediately compared the data and realized the whole truth. Assistant Zhao Da was the mole who conspired with Boss Sang to steal confidential documents to sabotage the listing of Sanlifang Group. Worried about Qianfei's safety knowing she was in Taoyuan Creek, Li Yifei rushed to find her. Meanwhile, Qianfei was sitting in a taxi heading back. On the way, her taxi was followed very closely by a black car that constantly swerved and dangerously squeezed them. Qianfei hurried to call the police. However, the black car intentionally hit them hard from behind, making the taxi lose control, crash into the water barrier by the road, and flip over. Li Yifei kept calling Qianfei, but the call was only picked up when a police officer answered. This person informed him that Qianfei had just been in a serious traffic accident and was currently moved to the hospital emergency room. Hearing the bad news, Li Yifei panicked completely and drove like the wind to the hospital. When he ran into the emergency room and saw doctors pushing a stretcher covered with a white sheet passing by, Li Yifei thought it was Qianfei. He completely broke down, sobbing loudly and trying to rush in, but was held back by the medical staff. Just when he was at his most desperate, a familiar call, Yifei, rang out from behind. He turned his head and saw Qianfei standing there safe and sound, with only a small scratch on her forehead. After experiencing the feeling of almost losing his loved one, Li Yifei immediately rushed to hug Qianfei tightly and sobbed. "You scared me to death." The two shared a tight, emotional hug in the middle of the hospital lobby. Li Yifei and Qianfei sat close together in the back seat of a car, holding hands tightly. In the front passenger seat, Li Yifei's father, Li Tiansheng, quietly watched the two through the rearview mirror, smiling warmly and giving his son more motivation by saying, "Don't forget, you're not fighting alone." Scene transitioned to the apartment of the male lead, Li Yifei. The atmosphere right now was no longer full of schemes but switched to a tooth-achingly sweet mode with a bit of heartache. Yifei was applying medicine to the bright red wound on Qianfei's forehead while looking at her with a reproachful yet pitying gaze. He said in a deep voice, calling her out, "The moment I got your email, I knew right away you were targeted by that guy Tang Siki. I called Xing Xing and found out what crazy stuff you've been doing these past few days. You drove for 2 whole days, a 5,000-kilometer round trip, with your clumsy driving skills, renting a crappy car and driving yourself to Taoyuan Creek. Are you out of your mind?" Qianfei sat there as obedient as a kitten, smiling with relief because everything was settled. She reached out to gently pat her boss's head to comfort him, but Yifei immediately grabbed her hand, his voice choking up. "But my heart aches. I was scared to death at the hospital. If the person on that emergency bed was you, how would I live? If I lost you, I'd go crazy." It turns out that for a long time, Qianfei kept refusing and making up harsh lies just because she was afraid of getting hurt and afraid people would play with her feelings. But her act of risking her life to steal back the computer data to protect him gave it all away. Yifei looked deep into her eyes and said every word firmly. "Qianfei, can you let me keep liking you? Let me protect you. Starting from now, let me truly, truly love you. Is that okay?" The beautiful girl's eyes filled with tears, and with no reason left to run, she gave a quick nod. Without wasting a single second, Yifei pulled her close, and their lips met passionately. A deep, sincere, and explosive kiss that would make anyone watching blush like crazy. Finally, the ship has sailed, guys. Love is perfect, but family drama is waiting to crush the male lead. In the middle of the night, Yifei returned to his family's giant mansion. He gently put a coat over his dad, Chairman Li, who was asleep on the sofa from overworking. The dad woke up with a start, looked at his once sharp-tongued son who was now grown up, and smiled kindly. "Thank you for saving Qianfei." Hearing this, Yifei was stunned. It turns out the chairman dad didn't oppose his son's relationship at all. Instead, he had secretly sent bodyguards to follow and protect Qianfei. With tears in his eyes, he confessed, "I didn't want you to follow in my footsteps, helplessly watching the person you love most leave." At this moment, all misunderstandings between father and son were officially cleared up. Chairman Li also sadly revealed a brutal truth. Tianqing Group is in danger. You don't know what kind of dirty tricks those foreign capitalists are using. They want to strip our family of everything. Hurry back to the company. He admitted he used a little scheme to make Yifei feel indebted, so he'd obediently come back to inherit the group. But the rich heir is on a whole different level now. He didn't panic at all, but calmly laid out a completely new path to save the group. Dad, to save Tianqing, the traditional capital injection process is both complicated and time-consuming, and the risk is too high. So why don't we do a backdoor listing through the Philapida project? What a pro move. It solves the capital problem and uses that momentum to clap back hard at those foreign capitalists. Hearing his son's sound analysis, the dad nodded in satisfaction, and the two burst out laughing, clearing away all barriers. While the good guys were setting up their counterattack, the net of justice began to close in on the villains. At the securities company office, the police suddenly burst through the doors, to the shock of dozens of employees. Their target was Fang Yu, the crafty senior manager. "Miss Fang Yu, you are suspected of stealing trade secrets. Please come with us." Fang Yu was stunned, but she quickly regained her composure, asked to get her things, and walked away quietly. Standing in front of the glass window looking down at the city's skyline one last time, Fang Yu bitterly realized she had taken the wrong path. Ambition had swallowed her whole. Down in the building lobby, while being led away by the police, Fang Yu ran into Qianfei. She asked the police for a few minutes to say goodbye to her co-worker and rival. Fang Yu gave a sad smile. "I used to look up to Boss Liao like a lighthouse, but now that tower has collapsed. I always wanted to mold you into a version of myself, but now I get it, you and I are not the same. Just keep being yourself. I really like you." The two women gave each other a tight hug, a hug that cleared all the bad blood, as Fang Yu officially faced the consequences of her wrongdoings. And it wasn't just Fang Yu, the entire ring of villains was falling like dominoes. At the police station, the henchmen being interrogated spilled everything. "I was pushed to a dead end, with an old mother and young kids to take care of, so I was used by that same guy." Meanwhile, at the Li family mansion, Chairman Li coldly laid his cards on the table with his daughter Xiu. "The one pulling the strings to attack the company is Sang Siki. Don't think I don't know. From now on, get out and work as a low-level department manager for me." Xiu was furious and threatened to quit, but Chairman Li just smirked and growled, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Now that's the vibe of a business king." With all the trouble settled, our main leads are back to being lovey-dovey. Qianfei is now moving up fast, becoming the official person in charge of the Philapida investment project. Boss Afei brought a teddy bear and a huge bouquet of flowers, waiting for his lady at the company entrance. As soon as they sat down at a cafe, Qianfei pulled some lady of the house authority and set 3 dating rules for the boss to memorize. First, don't let others know about our relationship. At the office, we're just co-workers. Second, no more showing off by holding flowers at the door. Third, if you have to go socialize at bars or clubs, you must report it. If you dare to flirt or check out any girl, I won't miss a single punch. After hearing that, the boss didn't get mad but instead grinned with joy, obediently following every order. Truly, happy wife, happy life. Li Yifei and Qianfei are having a happy relationship, however. Qianfei still wants to keep this romance a secret at work to avoid unnecessary trouble, because even though they are at different companies, they are currently working on the same project. Li Yifei rented a very spacious new apartment but suggested moving in together at Qianfei's house to help her reduce the financial pressure from her mortgage, while he would also save some money. Before that, Li Yifei also had a frank conversation with his ex-girlfriend, Liao Xiyu. He confirmed that he currently has a girlfriend and wants to keep his distance to avoid making Qianfei uncomfortable. Juncheng brought Dang Yu home to meet his family. There, she received a very warm and enthusiastic welcome along with lucky money envelopes from his parents and relatives. Stormy times arose when Qianfei received a distress message from her ex-boyfriend, Wang Ruohai. Wang Ruohai's mother is seriously ill and needs an emergency kidney transplant, which requires a very large amount of money. With the thought of wanting to pay back all the kindness that Wang Ruohai had helped her with when she was unemployed, so that later they would have absolutely nothing to do with each other anymore, Qianfei decided to secretly sell her apartment. Li Yifei accidentally discovered Qianfei was going through the house selling process at a real estate broker's office. This made him extremely angry and hurt. The two of them had a heated argument right on the street. Li Yifei blamed her for deciding on such a big matter for her ex without caring about his feelings at all, while Qianfei insisted that this was her house and she had the right to decide for herself. Li Yifei offered to lend her money to help Wang Ruohai instead of selling the house, but Qianfei refused and walked away. At a bar, Li Yifei told this story to his best friend. The friend helped him understand by explaining that Qianfei's action was actually just wanting to settle the debt of gratitude fairly, so she could make a clean break with Wang Ruohai once and for all. Understanding his girlfriend's heart, Li Yifei immediately contacted Qi to make a plan. He acted as a guarantor and secretly bought back Qianfei's apartment, while also asking Qi to release the money early so she could take care of things in time. Because of this, Qianfei didn't need to move out immediately but could continue to stay in the apartment as a tenant, while Li Yifei became the new landlord. The two of them later had warm and happy moments cleaning up and cooking together and making up. Qianfei had a business trip to Guiyang and Yinchuan. On the flight, and at the airport, she happened to be helped with her luggage by an older businessman, Boss Meng, who proactively approached her for a chat and gave her his business card. Right at that moment, Li Yifei suddenly appeared at the airport. He publicly put his arm around Qianfei's shoulder and confidently introduced himself as her official boyfriend in front of Boss Meng. After the partner left, Qianfei was both amused and surprised to ask why he was there. Li Yifei said half joking and half serious that he had to personally come to keep an eye on her so she wouldn't be approached by other men. Li Yifei stepped out of the bathroom in a bathrobe with a towel over his hair. He was surprised to see Qianfei sitting on the sofa with an upset look on her face. She told him she had already booked a flight for him and that a driver would be there to pick him up shortly. Li Yifei explained that he had worked overtime until midnight yesterday just to squeeze in a moment to see her. He gently hugged her from behind, telling her that seeing her was more important than any job. After those sweet words, the two of them shared a romantic kiss on the sofa. The next morning, Qianfei woke up alone in the hotel room. She found that Li Yifei had already left, but he had left a handwritten sticky note next to the computer. "Early flight, I'm heading out first. I won't be late for work. I'll pick you up in Shanghai." After reading the note, Qianfei smiled happily, stepped out onto the balcony to look at Shanghai under the morning sun, and stretched radiantly. In Shanghai, a major event for the Fulapida company was held in style. Li Yifei looked sharp in a black suit, showing partners around the tech models. His father, Boss Li, who is also the chairman of Tianxing Group, walked into the conference room with an assistant. In front of the entire hall, Boss Li praised the Fulapida project and announced that the group was ready to sign the investment contract. Li Yifei confidently stepped up to shake his father's hand as the guests cheered and applauded. Back at their shared apartment, Qianfei was focused on studying capital conversion documents for Tianxing in the living room. When Li Yifei got home, he acted like a needy baby, asking for attention because he thought she was being too cold to him. When he heard her say she was hungry, Li Yifei happily went to the kitchen to make some noodles. In the kitchen, he secretly took a photo of her from behind and sent a teasing text over WeChat. The next day, when meeting Qi at a bar, the owner offered Qianfei a drink because she was a friend of the young master, Li Yifei. Hearing this, Qianfei suddenly realized her boyfriend was the son of a billionaire. That night, Li Yifei returned home but couldn't get the door password to work. He called Qianfei, but the line was busy. While wondering what was going on, Li Yifei got a text from Qianfei telling him to just go back and live in his family's big mansion. Li Yifei realized in a panic that his rich kid identity had been exposed. He immediately called and texted to explain, but found out he had been blocked. He ran to the hallway and knocked on her door, begging to explain, but she firmly refused and threatened to call the police. Manager Zhang from Xian Zouqi assigned Qianfei the task of meeting Chairman Li Tianxing in person at his private villa to present the capital conversion plan because he was busy. In the villa's living room, Boss Li frankly told Qianfei that he didn't initially support his son dating a girl who wasn't from a similar high-status family. Qianfei wasn't insecure at all. She calmly and confidently gave a sharp response about the Li family's actual financial situation, which shocked him. When he tested her with a check, she playfully said she would take the money and leave right away. She also wittily answered the "save the money or your son if both fall into the water" question by choosing to save the money because his son was a great swimmer since he taught him since he was a kid. Qianfei's intelligence, knowledge, and realistic attitude completely won over Li Tianxing. He smiled and admitted that she was the one who had taught and helped Li Yifei grow, changing him from an arrogant rich boy into someone who cares for others. He happily gave them his blessing. Li Yifei was eavesdropping behind the door, feeling incredibly happy. Back at the apartment, Li Yifei was waiting for Qianfei in a sharp suit. As soon as she walked in with groceries, he stepped forward and took her hand. Li Yifei got down on one knee, presented her with a sparkling engagement ring and a sweet proposal note. "Qianfei, will you marry me?" Qianfei nodded yes, full of emotion. The two of them shared a warm hug and a passionate kiss under the Shanghai sunset. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to see more great movies. See you later!